Nice looking headphones.
Oh, yeah, they're really good. Hmm?
They look like they're speakers. Is that a speaker there? It's kind of
Yeah,
hard to see.
it's, yeah,
Wow.
here, one sec. I'll have to focus the camera.
What? Man, they look heavy duty.
Yeah. One sec, I'll have
Nice.
to refocus. Yeah, they're like audiophile headphones. You know, I listened to a shitload of music and I never went down the audiophile path, but then eventually I did, and I was like, holy shit, like it sounds pretty crazy. So yeah,
Really?
definitely a good purchase. If you're like an avid music listener, the way I think about it
Uh-huh.
is like, look, I don't like to spend a shitload of money on stuff. I try to be frugal, but if there's something that I'm gonna get kind of constant value out of, if it's like I spend a chunk of time every day doing this, like yeah, I mean, why not
Whoa.
just pay the money to do it in the way that's most enjoyable,
Oh,
assuming it's
wait,
not
for a couple
insane
of extra
amount.
hundred
Yeah.
bucks, for a couple of extra $100, you're gonna enjoy the shit out of music for
Yes.
years.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Unless you
I
break
mean,
them.
I'm the same. I'm the same with music. Ever since I got my first set of good headphones, I was like, "Fuck!" And then I've always needed that. If you use them like tinny sounding ones, it's just not the same experience at all.
Yeah, I used to have the same attitude with bongs, but they break and then you're in debt. Well,
I
not
don't
in
feel that
debt,
way with
but you're out with a bunch of money.
bongs.
Yeah,
With
like a
bongs, I'm
bong.
just like, as long as the weed gets in my lungs, I don't care.
But wait, but no, Jim's not down with herbal though, I bet. You're probably like straight edge. Yeah.
I don't talk about my extracurricular activities.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
It'll
that makes me even
clearly
more curious.
tons of meth, tons of crack, maybe a little bit of acid, yeah. Um,
Nothing wrong with that.
so I don't know really exactly what the format is. Like, are you just kind of you just want to ask stuff, or is there something specific you want to see us talk about? I mean, yeah. What exactly
Uh,
were you thinking?
yeah. So what I was thinking is, I don't know. Jim Bob and I have had some discussions on Instagram. And honestly, man, I can't remember the exact which routes we went down in those conversations, which topics. I have vague memory, but I just know we disagree with a bunch of stuff regarding veganism, some stuff regarding religion. I don't know if we went into that too much, but I think we do have some disagreements there too. Or at least I'm just confused about some of the things that you believe, maybe. And I noticed also that you have been going back and forth with Isaac. So this is a conversation we were already going to have, bro. And then it didn't work out for both, like, a couple of different reasons. All good. But now I guess, I feel like with Isaac as well, we can have a more well-rounded discussion, because I know that there's stuff that you'll probably say to me and I'll be like, I actually don't know how to answer that, bro. But it's better to have answers here so that we can, yeah, understand each other more clearly. And Isaac will be able to articulate certain things I can't, and maybe I'll have certain things to say, and whatever your thoughts are and stuff too, man. Like, I'm just really curious why we have such opposing beliefs and how we both think we're right. I find that fascinating. So maybe we should just start going with, like, if you guys don't have a preference, I'd like Isaac, if you could do it, to explain your reasons why you're vegan, and then Jim Bob, I want to know why you think that another way to live is preferable, or you don't feel morally uh, compelled to live a vegan lifestyle. Does that sound cool?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Sweet.
Well, why I'm vegan? I just don't like what we're doing to animals. I'd like that to stop, and as far as I understand, having being vegan has a positive effect on that.
Okay. I got a question for you, bro. How horrible is the situation?
I mean, I think it's probably the most pressing ethical issue right now.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I don't know exactly what kind of response you want there. Like, how horrible? Like, I think it's
Well,
really fucking bad. It's like about as
well,
bad as it
yeah,
gets.
yeah. Because what you said is like, I don't like that it happens, and that's one way to say it, of course. But I just want to
Mhm.
know how passionate. Like, I know you're passionate about it, but just in your own words, like, how immoral you see this situation. How like, I kind of on a bit of a scale, if you can.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to, uh, you know, look, I've been vegan for a long time. Okay, I've argued with a shitload of people about this. I don't I don't know if I can drum up like a ton of emotion to sound super empathic on the topic or anything like this, but I just don't like the thought of fucking with animals. I don't like seeing cabs. It's a cross of cow and stab right there, new portmanteau. I don't like
Yeah.
seeing, you know, like a cow get stabbed. I don't like seeing a baby chick get ground alive. I just have like, you know, a horrible feeling when I see that, and I just don't want to be part of
Very,
it.
a very strong preference against it. It's not like, I could take it over. It's like, absolutely
Yes.
no way.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
I would put myself in that
Hell
kind of
no.
category. Yeah,
Like,
like
hell no.
yeah, very, very bad.
Yeah.
Like about
Very no.
yeah, about as bad as it gets.
Yeah. Okay, that's my belief as well. And so you feel that the most consistent way to live, believing that stabbing and shredding and raping animals is wrong, is to live a vegan lifestyle.
Well, yeah, given that you don't want it to happen, it seems like veganism is like a practical pathway to doing, you know, at least what you can to not contribute to it happening.
Yeah. And basically, if everybody was vegan, it pretty much wouldn't be happening. Trillions of beings wouldn't be getting slaughtered. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who have kind of like what seem to me like crazy views there, but yeah, I don't think the kind of things we're gonna disagree about here. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we're really gonna disagree about economic stuff like supply and demand. I think we're gonna disagree about like philosophy. Like
Totally.
Jimbob, well, I should ask Jimbob to be fair, but like, I mean, I assume none of that is like the kind of shit that you're objecting to.
No, I mean, I have actually some of my arguments against like the corporate farming would include all kinds of food, not just meat. Why I would oppose it, but it wouldn't be on like some strong moral or ethical principle. It would be on some other things. But as far as like the consequence or imagining a hypothetical of what the world would be or what would be absent in the world if everyone suddenly went vegan, I think is just an assumption that I couldn't possibly know truly the result of, or there would be like unseen unintended consequences, things I can't imagine,
Yeah.
things I don't know.
But
So it's
we're
like
not disagreeing about just the idea that if you completely cut out the demand for the product, you're going to see a drastic reduction in the supply. Like that's nothing special about veganism. It's just, you know, it's just like a general kind of economic
Business.
principle, probably. I
Yeah,
see.
it's
We
just-
just yeah.
So,
We're,
so
like, just-
Jimbob, like you're saying that you can't say for sure what the world would be like.
Well,
There's certain things that would happen that we haven't thought of, perhaps, and stuff like that. But generally speaking, you know, you could make a pretty good assumption, most likely, don't you think, that the world would be a far less violent place.
no, I couldn't make that assumption.
Okay, I think it's basic maths, to be honest. I don't think it's a complicated equation. I think there's a demand for murder right now. And if the demand for murder doesn't exist, the murder doesn't exist. And because there's so much murder, because literally almost every single human is paying for it every day, then that's a lot less murder going to happen. And unless people start murdering each other, it's still going to be anywhere near at the rate that we murder animals, which is in the trillions every year compared to there's only billions of humans.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we would disagree on what the definition of murder there, but if you're just talking death, I'm not certain that animals would be better
killing.
off in the short term if humans suddenly stopped consuming them in any regard.
Okay, but overall, in 5 years, would you know? Let's say that everybody went vegan tomorrow. This isn't going to happen anyway, but it's an interesting hypothetical. Everybody went vegan tomorrow, and then there's a bunch of animals that are in factory farms and were waiting to get slaughtered that exists.
Mhm.
Okay, so there could be some issues there. They probably would if the world just went vegan overnight. We're definitely not prepared for that. So I'm sure there'd be some issues for those billions of animals, whatever. But if we're not breeding anymore into existence and that shit's over, and we do what we can at our best with the animals that exist, in a short amount of time, when those animals, we've cared for the ones we can, the other ones have died, and then eventually they'll die and we won't breed anymore into existence, the whole situation is over. Because why would people be breeding animals into existence if there's no business anymore? They're not going to just do it for fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, if we're just talking about breeding, but I'm actually not well versed enough to know what the numbers would be as far as just animals overpopulating without picking some off and here and there, and the impact of that, because I've only peripherally studied some of that in conservation and like when humans actually need to intervene with animals and actually act against animals in a small portion in order to protect a larger portion. And I know there are some arguments for that. So I'm actually not entirely sure if you took the demand away, I'm not sure what would happen, just animals existing on their own and just doing what they do. You know?
Well, first of all, the likely scenario it's extremely nearly impossible that it's going to be a vegan world overnight. So let's just look at the practical, like what's likely, what's going to happen. Because that would just be basically a miracle if everyone's went, oh, vegan. So it's going to be a gradual thing. So let's talk about the reality. The gradual thing will be we slowly find ways of how to deal with the situation. We're pretty good. The climate change issues from animal agriculture start to be less. The amount of violence starts to be less. Till ultimately, there's no animal agriculture. We're all feeding ourselves easily with plants. The situation of the climate is starting to heal in reverse instead of keep going in the wrong direction. This seems just like, as I said, basic maths. That's likely where we go. So we should just put out everything on red, because the chance of red is way higher than just maybe this could happen. Maybe
what percent of the world is vegan?
I don't know, man. Obviously it varies from country to country, and I don't know anymore. I've heard, I don't know if it's possible to really know, but I guess my guess would be 3 to 10%. What do you think, Isaac?
I don't know about those kind of things. I focus on the philosophy stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just saying if the first assumption there is I'm not actually sure of what it would take. Let's say hypothetically, if we're between 3 and 6 or 10% at the highest of global veganism, what, when you just skip to, well, yeah, and everyone will just feed everyone plants. I'm actually not sure economically, resources, what that actually would take.
It's already very possible. It's the only way the United Nations have said. I don't know how you feel about them, but this is just one example of how we're going to feed 10 billion people by 2050. We have more than enough food. It would free up a lot of land. We feed animals a huge amount more food than what they produce in calories. So it's a very inefficient system.
You know what? Can I say something? Because I'm wondering if this is the right path to be on. Because for empirical debates and stuff, you want to talk all about, all the different empirical questions to do with veganism. I'm not actually the best guy for that. I can talk about the philosophy stuff, but
I want to get there.
Yeah.
Don't mind. I really want to get there to your stuff because I can't do that. But first, I just want to establish that, you're making a choice either way. Okay, you're either for or against veganism. You're either for animal rights or against animal rights. You either, fund the meat industry or some similar process of funding death or creating death, or you don't. So when you have a choice to make, you can't just be impartial and be like, I'm not really sure. I don't know if this would happen or that would happen. You have to make some choice. Okay, we're all making the choice every single day. So my question is, why are you hedging your bets on the almost definitely more violent, more environmentally destructive, causing far less peace, so much bloodshed? Don't you think this is just, let's err on the safe side? It seems in most ways pretty clearly that this is going to be a better bet for humanity's evolution, for the healing of the world.
I would just reject that assumption. Yeah, I would just reject that assumption outright.
Okay. I just don't see how you think it's an assumption though. The facts seem to point to that almost definitely. Your thing that you're saying, well, no, because we don't know exactly what would happen. It's well, what would probably exactly happen is things would be way better. Almost definitely. It makes sense because of how destructive and violent this is. So creating less demand for that is almost definitely good. It's pretty clear, pretty likely, almost definitely.
I think you're making a value judgment from the assumption that the system that you think or imagine could be is actually in place, right?
Well, what I'm saying is it's basically almost in place. We just need more people to start adopting it, and then more vegan products will come, more ease of access to vegan products, these kinds of things. So yeah, the job is basically, you know, in the process, the shift is happening. I think we can all see that. I'm just asking, why aren't you on the team yet with us fighting for a more peaceful and environmentally friendly world?
Because I think, from my knowledge of that system, it's all resource-based economy. It's centralized control over production. To me, it leads fundamentally to systems that I believe demonstrably fail, even in their good intention. And so, for me, it would be
huge improvement, right? Currently, you can see that it'd probably be a huge improvement. Might not be perfect in your eyes, but compared to what we've got now, don't you think it'd be a huge improvement?
no, because
Wait, but
my
1 second, James. Do you know what he's getting at with all the resource based economy stuff? Are you actually a proponent of that?
No idea. I
Yeah,
have no idea. But I also, I just will say, I also don't think it really matters, because if you're talking about our next step being to change the whole style of economy, I just don't see that as a likely next step. What's more likely is people will continue changing from meat to vegan meat, and that's something we can all do right now easily without having to do a big upheaval of something that's probably way more years in the future, if ever happens.
Yeah, the reason I ask is just because, okay, so I guess I want to say one or two things. So first of all, when I said I think we might be on the wrong path, no, if you think there's valuable stuff to cover here, that's completely fine. We can do that first. I'm just kind of saying, you know, why I don't really have a whole lot to say. It's not really an area I spend much time with. But the resource-based economy stuff, the reason I kind of mentioned that was because, like, I don't know all about that kind of stuff, but that's, you know, there's stuff like the Venus Project, and it's some like very speculative like economic theory, and I was like, wait, is James actually, do you promote that kind? Because if you don't, then it's not really quite an attack on James' position to go after the resource-based economy stuff.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't be responding directly to his position, but what veganism is paralleled with toward the similar goal. And it's not that the vegans take on that goal, but the goal of vegans would aid that goal. And I would say it's not an argument against James. It's my own personal assessment of putting those two in similar categories, because I know the world, I know the United Nations, I know the World Economic Forum, I know the circular economy, and they're all on board with similar things. Whether they link themselves directly to vegans, even at the vegans at the local level who don't give a shit about that large scale stuff, that they do sort of co-opt veganism philosophy to push sort of like, eat more bugs. We're going to put you on a circular economy. It's going to be a system where,
vegans hate can I say one thing to that? Eat more bugs people, vegans actually hate those people. There's a lot of us who don't have as strong views on bugs. I'm in that category, but actually vegans hate vegans fucking hate the eat bugs people, generally speaking.
Bugs are fucking awesome. Fuck that shit.
And
well, they're amazing.
I was gonna say bugs are a whole can of worms, but it seems
a whole can of legends, bro.
Yeah, so no, I don't want you to misinterpret me. I'm not using that to be like,
no, I got you.
Like, it's a part of my
you're saying you think that stuff is likely to arise along with veganism. You're not saying that you're attacking James' position in virtue of him being in favor of okay. Now
I think power.
I do. Yeah. Well, I just want to say one or
okay, go.
Just
guys.
One or two little points. So, got to share, man. No, I'm just fucking with you. Yeah. So, one or two things. I will throw you a bone, though. I would assume that if you take vegans and you take the general population, I would bet that more vegans are on board with stuff like a resource-based economy than if you looked at the general population, because we know more vegans are leftists, and that's like a leftist kind of idea, right? So, that much I could agree with. And I had another point, but I forgot it when I made a joke, so if you want to...
Okay, my turn then. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Jimbob, even in your style economy, why not vegan?
Because my style economy favors choice and family, and local families and like small level farming, hunters, like very small level, not mass production.
So the core of it is then, why do you think it's okay to hunt when we don't need to? Because I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's okay. Even though you have a choice, like everybody has a choice. I can do whatever the fuck I want right now. I can jump off this balcony. I have the choice to, but I don't want to because it brings bad consequences.
Yeah, I mean, that question starts from the assumption that you've established that it's not okay. So I could be amoral about that position.
Well, you
You
can't
mean
be
starts
amoral
from
about
the
it.
assumption that it's not necessary?
Oh no, necessary would just be arbitrary. Necessary is given by a goal. Goals are arbitrary. So I wouldn't argue from necessity.
Okay,
Or
maybe I
yes.
missed something there. It's okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, he said, why would you believe it's okay, right? Which is kind of a moral. I don't know if that's a moral.
Oh,
Moral. That's what I'm asking. That's
Right.
what I'm asking. Why do you think it's not immoral to murder when you don't need to murder?
Well, again, I would properly categorize killing separate from murder.
Well,
Murder-
let me just stop you right there, bro. So there is a definition of murder that fits animals perfectly. It doesn't include animals, non-human animals in the definition. It's just to kill someone against their will. So let's just go with murder because that is what we're doing to non-human sentient beings. It is the definition of murder. You shaking your head doesn't change that. It is a definition
It does.
of murder.
You said someone. Someone is a legal term given to humans.
No, it doesn't have to be, bro. It doesn't just have to
In
be about the
America,
law.
it is.
It can be just a way that we reference a individual sentient being with a heart and a brain. We can do that. We can do whatever we want. You know what I mean when I say someone. Let's not argue about the word someone. You know who I mean.
Can I say one thing here? Because yeah, this is also a bit of a Phil thing. So with definitions, right? So I mean, obviously there are definitions of murder that are going to include animals. There's one like so yeah. There's ones that say I forget exactly the phrasing, but they use the term someone or a person, and then the Carnist can push back on those by challenging animal personhood, which is obviously what Jimbob is doing. But there's others that it's like I don't think you can fight back on, like just that, you know, like brutal or wanton killing. But the thing is, like, this is kind of a semantic dispute, right? Because like we can sit there and go under this definition of murder, like, you know, illegal killing of another person, it's like it's not murder. Under brutal killing, at least the murder that's or the killing, whatever, that's brutal, at least we'll agree that fits that definition of murder. So really what we should do here, like, there's not some fact of the matter about what the like right definition is, or if there is a fact of the matter, it's just about what we prefer there. So what's better is just to say, given this definition, so you know what James means when he says murder, like according to some given definition, why are you in favor of it? We understand that you're flagging, I don't call this murder, but according to your definition, the reason I'm not in favor of the thing you call murder.
I got it. No, I could be charitable. I just think it's whether he knows it or not, it's poisoning the well. It gives it frames something in a way that I fundamentally, as a worldview, disagree with the framework of it. But it doesn't matter. It's I'm not going to convince someone vegan otherwise, even if it's framed.
No, you won't. You won't, because I used to believe like you, and now I realize that I was wrong. So there's no way that you're going to convince me that it isn't what it is.
Right.
What I'm hoping is that you can do the same math I did, and maybe you can't, and maybe you disagree, and whatever. But that's just what I'm really curious about. And
I believe that hunting an animal is perfectly fine because there's no objective moral basis that's consistent and coherent to say that it's immoral.
Okay. And so what I would say is, well, you know that you're going to cause harm. You know that you're going to end this individual's life. Both of those things, if done to you, you would not want. It's the last thing that you would want, literally the number one last thing. So when you feel that way so strongly opposed to it happening to you, do you think it's wise to be so flippant about it when you do it to someone else? And what I mean by flippant is you don't need to eat them. You don't need to eat their flesh. You could eat mushrooms with your stir fry instead of meat, but you're like, fuck it, meat. And that's flippant in my perspective.
So your argument that it's immoral is that it's unnecessary?
Basically, yeah, you don't need to, bro. So why kill?
Is it ever necessary?
Yes, it can be necessary if you need it to survive.
Why is it necessary to survive?
It's not necessary to survive, but you might make that choice when you're starving. So I don't know how people act when they starve. Some people act like they kill to survive. I don't know if I'm one of them, but some people.
So wouldn't
it may be necessary to some, it may feel necessary to some, and may not feel necessary to others. I don't know.
Right, because if it's, I feel like the only place you can bring it's not necessary is survival, but then that just puts it on the vegan. If they were starving, let's say they were on the show, like the Alone show. There's a porcupine, they're starving. Let's let's say they don't get a rescue boat, so it's not a show. It's just them in the world, in the, they don't really have a reason or a justification to kill the porcupine, even when they're starving, if they were going to be consistent, right?
Well, no, I think because you can do what you got to do to survive. You got to do it. Why? Because that's the aim of the game, bro. Like that's what life. Look. My ideal position is even when I'm starving, I won't kill someone. But when you're starving, you think differently to how I'm talking now. If I've been starving for 2 weeks, I might just kill the porcupine. Like, I don't know, man.
Right.
I hope not.
Right. But so when it really comes down to it,
in that extreme situation.
Right. So when it comes down to it, though,
maybe a different set of actions. But what I do today, when me and you can just not buy meat and end the whole meat industry, which would be huge net positive for the reasons we've already spoken about, it's a pretty big deal for you to go, fuck that. I'm going to murder I'm going to kill, or whatever you want to say. I'm going to kill this being anyway, even though it's literally, for me, the difference of surviving either way is either doing that meat or going here, vegan meat or some other food, beans, whatever. Like, it's this. That's the only difference it is in my life. So is the murder, like, wise?
Yeah, whether it's wise or not, I mean, that's going to be given by what you
do you think.
Determine
do you think
wise
it sounds wise?
I'm concerned with whether or not the moral argument is consistent, and I don't think.
Do you think it sounds wise?
I don't
Do
I
you
don't even
think?
know what that,
your opinion, I'm curious.
Wise to me, I'm a father. What's wise to me is given.
Sounds more wise to murder or not murder.
Hunting animals and using animals to feed your family, to me, is more wise.
Why is that more wise when you could have not murdered and still fed your family? Why is murdering the more wise choice?
Because I believe my family needs a wide variety of.
They don't.
Values.
Every vegan is proof that you don't need to eat animals to survive. You don't, bro. There's millions of us, and there's plenty of studies. So no.
But you just said you'd need animals to survive.
If I needed to, if I was starving, until then, no. Until then, no.
But then you can't use the word survive then.
Whatever you want to call it, until I am desperate and I have no other choice, I don't need animals.
Right.
Okay, you're not desperate. You have other choices. Why do you think that is a more wise choice?
Well, I don't think what's wise, what someone considers wise or unwise, is going to be a good argument point.
That's how you make your decisions in life, right? You do. I hope you do what is wise.
No, you can call what's pragmatic wise. You can reformat what's wise.
How is it more pragmatic? How is it more pragmatic? Tell me how it's a better choice. Use whatever word you want. Wise, pragmatic, positive.
My children prefer to eat meat.
I know they do. That's very possible. But is their enjoyment of that meat more valuable than this sentient being not getting harmed and murdered?
No, because the enjoyment of the meat is just
it's
an
just
aspect.
mild, it's just a little bit of enjoyment. It's just a little bit of taste enjoyment for a few minutes, and then you're over it, and you get your nutrients, which you could have got a taste enjoyment and got your nutrients without the murder.
I disagree. I think vegan food is shit.
Bro, if you think vegan food is shit, you ain't eating fucking vegan food. I'm meat eater 26 years. We have burgers, we have pastas, we have pizzas, we have ice cream, we have every fucking thing. So
the only vegan food I possibly could stand the taste of tastes like meat.
Dude, exactly. And we have it. So there you go, enjoy.
It tastes like meat.
Because meat tastes good, man. You taste good too, but I'm not going to murder you for your flesh. I'll just eat the vegan meat.
I may not. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it exists.
I don't think there's good arguments. I don't think those are good arguments.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you aren't smart enough to realize that they're great arguments. Okay. And I hope you figure it out soon, homie. Because until then, you're leaving a trail of victims behind, and it ain't pretty.
Well, I believe that the alternative would create some level of need, and that would ironically end up in a lot of hunting.
Made no sense what you just said.
I said if everyone.
I heard what you said. It just didn't make sense.
No,
it didn't make.
Okay, I could. That's fine.
Go for it. If you want to try to explain what you just said, why us all going vegan would require more hunting or more killing than it is. Go ahead.
I think going if the world went vegan in the way that the powers that be want the world to go vegan, there would be a lot of starving people. That's my assumption.
Okay. So I don't think you have good evidence to make that claim, and I think a lot of evidence exists to counterclaim that. A lot of evidence. So I think that is just something
I could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. I think control. I think companies and governments controlling food supply, which is ultimately the plan, regardless of what vegan outliers believe or consider to be the case. That plan is very, very articulated well. And
so they're either going to control it, vegan or not vegan. Why would it be better not vegan?
Better? I mean, that's just arbitrary.
Well, it's not arbitrary. If you care about rights violations and net positives in the world, it's not arbitrary. There's clear differences between lifestyles. There's clear difference between lifestyles. More environmentally friendly, less murder and throat slitting and rape and torture. So clear big differences. In my opinion, maybe if you went through one of those experiences, you'd agree with me. Until then, you're living a cushy life, and I'm happy for you. But they're not living cushy lives, bro. They're fucked. They're totally fucked in their situation because of people like you who keep funding this fucking Holocaust.
Okay. Well, you keep appealing to systems and methods I already started with that I don't support.
I'm just saying, either way, government controls. Why would it be better to have a non-vegan society full of slaughterhouses versus if the government's winning this fucking thing and going to control anyway, then there's a vegan option. Now, we can also work on adjusting this government thing and do your idea. Let's just say that was the world we went towards. It would still be better vegan. And you don't have any justification for why you would murder to feed your family just for your kids' enjoyment of flavor. That's fucking ridiculous. That's fucking ridiculous that you think that your kids enjoying a flavor because they like the taste of meat.
What I said.
That's exactly what you said. That's exactly what you said. You can go back and watch this. I said why you said, well, my kids like the taste of meat. And then that's fucking a ridiculous justification to kill, in my opinion. Okay, if you wake up and you're like, my kids enjoy a flavor, so fucking game on, boom, boom, boom. That's psychopath shit.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Because that's not the reason you feed your kids what they eat, because when you have a kid that's not a cat and they need to eat to survive, and they don't want your leafy, you make it work. There's lots of delicious vegan food. That's another thing you're lost on. That's another thing you're lost on, bro. Vegan food is very easy to make delicious. I'm gonna start sending you some recipes, okay? Because you're not right about that. You'll love the food. It doesn't matter because you still have a baseless moral claim.
The food is good though. Yeah. I mean, you gotta like the vegan food.
We got it all, bro. Why do you think you ask any vegan? We're not like, oh, I miss food. We're like, dude, vegan food, it's the shit. We got cookies, we got everything. Everything we've got. And it's better. It's better because no one got slaughtered for it. It's healthier. It's more environmentally friendly. So you eat it like this. Yum. I'm so happy that I'm vegan and eating this amazing, way better food than I used to when I was eating dead bodies of poor animals who were terrified and harmed badly in their horrible little lives. You eat it like this. Woo! Every meal. Yeah.
Well, I disagree with your value assessment of what you consider better.
I know you disagree. And that's what I hope you think more about. Who makes more sense here? You putting your family's taste preference over the lives of other sentient beings, and especially when you're not sacrificing their flavor, their appreciation of the sense of taste, you're just switching it to other foods that are also delicious and tasty. And even if there was a decrease in enjoyment of taste, the equation would still lead to fuck it, just don't murder for quite a while regarding taste. In my opinion,
disagree. I'm going to teach my kids. I'm going to teach.
So I hope you think more about it, because I think that's fucking bad, dude. Really, really bad. It makes me really sad to hear that shit. You're going to murder some innocent things. I know you don't care, man.
Your emotions are irrelevant to the logic.
No. Bro, I know you'll do what you do. I'm just sharing how your way of thinking affects even me, and you're not even going to hurt me, but you are going to hurt. You're going to hurt what I would see is basically people, and that's fucked up, man. So I'm just telling you, that's my opinion.
They're not
okay.
people.
So let's
kill you.
Let's talk
some of
about
these
this.
animals will
Hey,
kill you.
some people, you will kill them, motherfucker. You
Yeah.
kill them every day. Just because some
I
of
will.
them, and you don't have to, just because some of them might kill.
I
Okay,
will
that
kill
doesn't
them.
mean. I know you will, and that's fucked up, and that's what we're trying to talk about. Here's where Isaac comes in, my man. So you said they're not people. Let's talk about why you would never do this to a human being, but you are more than happy to do it to other sentient beings, including other mammals. Why do you think it's okay? What's the difference?
What do you mean? Why do I think it's okay? Why would I think it's not okay?
Okay, so you think it's not okay to do to humans, am I correct?
Yeah, it's not okay to do to humans.
Why not? Why not?
Because I'm a human and I value humans because I'm a human.
Okay, so you value humans. Why? What do you value about them?
I'm a human. I value myself.
No, that's not what I asked. I said, what do you value about humans?
They're like me.
Okay, and what is it to be like you?
I'm a human. That's all it is. It's a big.
Are you just going to go around in circles, or are you going to tell me a bit more about what it's like?
No, it's
Well,
totally circular.
I mean,
I can tell you what.
You could.
totally
Okay,
circular.
wait a second. So, when we're asking what's the morally relevant difference, like such that it's okay to kill the one for food but not the other, like it's okay to do it to animals but not humans.
Right.
You say it's being human.
Yeah, I could just pick the category itself of being human. But I believe that humans have transcendental qualities. I believe that we have access to outer worldly things. We have, as a whole category itself, we're able to represent the good. We can argue for the good. We can argue against what we believe is bad. On a categoric scale, it's not a trait. It's not a set of traits you can ask me to remove in this dialogue tree. It's a category. It can't be fundamentally isolated to single things that can be removed. And I couldn't possibly tell you in its wholeness what actually makes up the human itself.
Why is it wrong?
Okay.
Why is it wrong to murder you? Why is it wrong for me to?
Wait, can I one sec? Let me I want to talk about this for a minute. So with what you just said there, I mean, to be human is a property that someone can have, right? So I could understand if you responded to NTT by saying it's the property of being human. But it sounded like you might have, maybe you had a non-standard definition of human there. Like, do you define human just the standard way that we would in like a biology text, or do you have like a?
No, because biology, you can say, well, if we remove the biology, or if we made another biological human identical to a human, but wasn't actually a human, but it removed some other part that you thought was human, that was the reason why you wouldn't murder them, then could you murder that weird new human that's kind of a human, but not really a human? I see the line of where this tree goes. It goes to a contradiction, or it goes to a consistency that produces a conclusion that seems absurd, given that you've just altered, identity A in relation to identity B. So I know where it goes, but I also know that as a fundamental category, if you simply just say, no, I don't know exactly what it is to be human. I can't quite fully gather it the same way I fully can't understand the fact that absolute truth exists, or love itself. We can't materialize these things. So, but we know we have access to them somehow.
Yeah, but see, well, here, one sec. Can I, James, do you care if I just stay on this path of thought for a minute here? Because I have some like follow-ups for some of this stuff.
Sorry,
so
dude. No,
no, it's cool.
My head rattling around like a
I know, but I also know that if you start, it'll then go off in another direction. And this is one of those things I think I have a few things to say about.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. Right. So if you, and now I guess this is my puzzle, okay? Because if you mean what we normally mean by human, I can, give you a situation like, say that we have a little DNA scanner device and I scan you with it and it beeps if someone's not human, right? So it's like you've actually got some like underlying different DNA or something like this. If we scan you with the beeper, do you suddenly say it's fine to just murder me? Right? Now that's if you give the standard kind of biological definition of human, right? Because the second we say you don't fit that definition, even if you have the same kind of consciousness, same kind of experiences, we could find out you're this being right now in this conversation, you're not human, so it would be okay to, but it sounds like you're not using a definition like that. It sounds like you're using a definition that I don't understand. So I'm kind of in a position of just trying to understand what you actually mean when you say the word human.
Well, I mean, we can say there's something intuitively in me that I find about other humans, about humans in general, as a species, as a collective, as a set, that I don't quite understand, but I know I value it.
Yeah, but that doesn't give me the
I know it
concept.
doesn't give you, I know, but you need the concept so you can isolate it, so you can run the dialogue tree, then remove the concept, and then follow up with inconsistency or the absurd
Well, no,
conclusion, right?
I need the concept to just understand what you're saying. When you say,
I can't possibly convey in words what makes a human human in a transcendental way, such that it could make sense in a correspondent,
yeah,
or like
because
physical way.
I'll tell you how, because this is what it's like from my perspective, right? Because I have an understanding of what human means. I would just point out like a biology text or something like this, and it's fine if someone's not satisfied with that definition, if they want to, you know, use something else for whatever reason, something else is important to them. But the problem is basically the conversation we end up having is I go, okay, well, like, what's the morally relevant difference? And if I don't know what you mean when you say the word human, right, it sounds like a word we know the meaning of, but you don't mean what we normally mean by it.
Yeah, but
you may, can I just, wait, let me just finish this. You may as well be saying to me, from my perspective, right, well, the trait is having crompulus. It's like, well, wait, I need to actually know what crompulus means to even understand what you just said to me.
Right. Well, I fundamentally reject that. In my view, what makes the value of a human is consistent or identical to a
Sorry, but when you just said right there, what makes the value of a human, to me, I'm going, what makes the value of a Zergophlicock, right? Like, I don't even know what beings you're talking about.
You don't know what a human is?
I know what it is, but
you're pretending you don't know.
Wait, I do know what it is. So just to be clear, I would point at like a biology text, and whatever the standard kind of definition is you'd see there, that's what I would mean when I say human. What I'm saying is that I don't understand what you mean by human, right? So it's not that I don't have a concept of human. When I use the word, I mean what I think is typically meant by it. It's that I don't understand what you mean when you say it.
Well, I mean, human would include all, like, a whole set of beingness. It would include a full range of access to.
Sorry, can I just stop you right there? Yeah. What is the full set of beingness? What the fuck does that mean?
My God, I never heard that shit.
Like,
sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick. I literally just don't know what that means.
That just makes no sense to me at all. It just sounds like
describe it.
Okay.
I will describe it. The full range of the way humans can be.
Yeah, so that definition is regressive, right? Because if I say, what does human mean? And then we have a definition as a definiendum and a definiens, right? The definiendum is the term to have meaning provided for it. The definiens is the meaning provided for the definiendum. If the definiens contains the definiendum, then the very term we're seeking to understand the meaning of is showing up in its own definition. So that's just going to create an infinite regress.
Why would I accept that the definition of human be fully accessible?
I don't think that I said anything about fully accessible. I just pointed out that... Wait, just that one point, though. I pointed out the definition that you just gave is regressive.
Okay, but what I'm pointing to is that the thing that's valued may not be accessible through normal language.
Yeah, but I'm not even asking about what's valuable right now. I'm not asking what makes a human valuable. The original question...
definition of a human.
Right, yeah, because the original question was, why is it okay to stab the animals, not the humans? What's the morally relevant difference? You said being human, and I asked, do you mean what we typically mean? You said no, and now I'm trying to understand your definition, but the definition that you... Sorry, just let me finish. I'll let you finish. But just the definition that you gave, and again, I'm not trying to shit on you. It might just be imprecision because we're talking live, right? That happens. I'm sure I'm not beyond it. The definition that you gave is actually regressive because the definiendum shows up in the definiens. That's just going to create picture from the perspective of someone trying to understand, right? In fact, you disagree with, surely to slight segue, but it's directly connected. You probably disagree with a lot of the modern leftist, like trans discourse, right?
Oh, me? Like,
I'm assuming because you're a traditional Christian that you generally speaking, you don't like trans women being called women, probably all that kind of stuff. not on board with.
I don't mind them calling whatever they want. I reject any violation of identity. I wouldn't deny someone if they wanted to be called something. If I knew them one-to-one, I wouldn't play, the opposite game. In spite of it. No.
Yeah, I understand that, but I guess the reason why is just sometimes when I talk to people on the right, if we get into regression stuff, there's just an example that a lot of people on the right have encountered before, which is that there's certain people on the far left who will say a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman, which is regressive, right? Because the term you're trying to understand the meaning of is showing up in its own definition. So from the perspective of someone who doesn't know what they mean by woman, right? They're going to go, what does it mean? And they say, well, it's anyone who identifies as a woman. Well, the very term they just asked for the meaning of showed up in the response. So they still don't know what it, right? So it's that same thing happening here.
Gotcha. No, I understand. The reason, I would say, from my first answer to James is that I value humans as a category, and I'm a human, and that I value myself, and because of that, I value those who mirror me. And so someone might take that and be like, well, your species is or whatever. What I'm saying is that the definition of human, right, in any way that we agree on it, right, is not going to be identical to me.
I don't think the definition of human is going to just describe. It's not. Whatever you mean, I doubt that you mean Jimbob when you say human. I don't think that means the same thing.
Right.
I think you take it.
And you don't look at me and you go, oh, he's just the definition of being human, like biologically.
I don't think you are a definition.
Right. I'm beyond a definition.
Yeah, you're a being. I mean, I would call you a human being, but I don't know if I'm a human according to your because I don't know what that, like, I'm being a bit like, I'm teasing, but like it's like, it's a problem though, right? Because if we want to understand how you make the moral separation, and your response is to go, well, I'm reductio proof because the separation is in virtue of Crompulus. It's like, well, I mean, I
understand that. Yeah. That's the problem with the definition. So if I get into trying to define it,
if you just,
it's not the definition, that's the trait, though.
I mean, we can. Wait, I didn't.
That mirror you.
No, I didn't.
You said beings mirror you. So how do animals that have eyes and a heart and a brain and a set of lungs and breathe and eat and sleep and fuck and have babies and do all that shit, feel pain, get sick, get happy, laugh, do things, care for their babies, sing, dance, do all this shit. How do they not mirror you, except that they're probably better dancers than you, a lot of them? How?
They're not human.
But what the fuck does that mean?
Does it matter? Does it fucking matter? I don't even know what a human is.
Wait, but that was that was the exact same problem again, though, right? Like, what does it mean? It is. It's a regressive definition. No, but wait a sec. We have to understand the regression problem. Like,
they do things like me. Are they mirroring me exactly?
No, but aren't they close enough? They close enough? No, it's still okay to murder them, even though they're almost identical to just not human. It's okay to murder them just for that one reason, because they're not human. So even though they sing, dance, feel pain, suffer, don't want to die, want to live, everything just like you, yeah, but you're not human, so fucking bang! Yeah, that's smart. That's wise, is it?
Like,
it's not a good argument what you just said, though.
It's the argument, and you just don't get it. I'm sorry to tell you.
The statement assumes that you've established
that being a human matters, and you don't even know what human is, so it can't matter that much. You can't even describe what one is. It's not that big a deal. It's not that different to any other species. It's not. We're basically identical. We just have evolved a bit more so we can talk on laptops. But in terms of how they feel and don't want to get their throat slit open, it's the fucking same. And you know how bad that is. You wouldn't want to happen to you. So just because they're a little different, let's still not slit their throats, because it's almost an identical terror for them.
Yeah, that's just, that assumes that you've established it's wrong to hunt and kill. And
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's basically the same sensation you're forcing on an almost identical being as it would be if I murdered one of your children. Now, you wouldn't be okay with that. You don't think they feel pain? You don't think they'd be scared? You don't think they'd feel pain and be scared? No, they don't feel pain. They don't feel pain. Do they feel pain? Do they feel pain? Do they feel pain? Yes or no?
Pain's not. You're acting
pain.
Like that's an argument.
Do you like feeling pain? It is. This is the argument. It's wrong to inflict needless pain on somebody.
Okay.
Is it okay to feel pain? Like it? Yes or no? Of course I do. Yes.
So, what are you equating pain to?
to something shit that we don't want to go through. So it's wrong to force it onto somebody else.
Okay, so if I remove the pain through the process of hunting, it's okay to eat, right?
It's also wrong to end someone's life against their will.
You didn't
That's why
answer the question.
it's wrong. What's the question?
I said, if we remove the pain and make a painless death, is it okay to eat the animal?
And I just answered that. No, because it's
So it's
not
pain then. So you said
No,
pain a lot,
it's
and now you
also
have
pain.
to put that aside.
No, I'm adding things to it. The argument
Well,
isn't just.
I've just removed that.
Yeah,
Now you
and
don't
so I
have
just
pain.
answered,
Now you
and
don't
I
have pain.
answered. What was my answer, Jimbob? No, because you're still ending someone's life against their will. So they're two things
Why is
that I'm
that wrong?
I wouldn't like it done to me. You wouldn't like it done to your daughter. So I will just
what I
accept
don't like.
it. Yes,
Like?
what you don't like. Yeah,
That's
you wouldn't
what's
like it.
moral? Wait, so I like ice cream.
Yes,
or I
that's
don't
exactly
like
what's moral. We choose what's moral based on our preferences of what we like and don't like. Yeah.
So Jeffrey
Based on
Dahmer
what we like.
preferred to eat frozen brains, so that's moral, right?
No, because
Oh, so it's not preference.
because it isn't consistent with your morals, and that's the point I'm trying to make,
No,
bro.
his morals is preference. You said preference. You just said preference.
Yeah, preference, empathy, consistency. That's how we do it.
Okay, so
You're the one being inconsistent here, not me.
no, I'm being consistent.
Are you okay with me murdering your daughter? No, but you're okay with murdering other beings. So why? Okay, murder's fucked, isn't it? Causing pain is fucked, isn't it? You don't like experiencing those things, but why are you okay with doing that to somebody else? Not humans, though, just everyone else, but not humans. You would never do it to a human. So what is the difference, bro? I'm waiting for you to explain that. You can't say, well, human, because we have so many things in common that just saying, well, human, just shows how delusional
you don't actually know that we have anything in common with what Jimbob means by human, because we don't actually know what is meant by that term.
That's actually true.
This is kind of what
humans. Okay, I could.
But that doesn't matter because we know what we're talking about here.
Well, okay, I think it does matter. I think that because the whole way we got there was we tried to ask about NTT, the response was human, but then it's not clear what human means, right? So there's no way to evaluate his position because we don't know what he's saying. So
do you know what it means to be human?
I'd be fine with just, whatever the dictionary says.
No, that's the definition of what a human is. I said, do you know what it means to be human? That would be in a dictionary, right?
I would assume assume that to be human is to be accurately described by the definition.
Could you Could you find the value of human in a definition of human in the dictionary?
I don't know what that even means. Find the value of?
Come on.
No, wait. Okay, sorry. I do want to object to that. I don't do that to you. I don't pretend you're playing dumb. I don't know what you mean. There's a whole ton of meta ethics around value. You could wait. Just one. I'll answer you, but I just want to be clear. There's a whole ton of meta ethics around what value is. It might be cashed out non-cognitively. It might be cashed out in a subjectivist manner. It might be cashed out in a robustly real. It's completely reasonable for me to say I'm not sure what you mean when you say value there.
Okay, take what you value in humans. Just subjectively, it doesn't matter what you value. Will you find what you value? Will any one of us actually find what we actually value in other humans and in ourselves in a dictionary definition of what a human is?
What is it? Okay, so to find what we value, what does that mean? Like if the thing we value is something like their conscious experience, are you asking like if we looked in the dictionary, would we see something like conscious experience in the definition of human? Like I'm trying to understand what the question is asking there.
I value life. We value being alive and the many blessings it brings.
No, but what do you mean when you say do you find the value in the dictionary? Like are you just saying do you find under the definition of human is one of the properties of humans the thing you value? Like i.e. if you valued their consciousness, when you look in the dictionary at the definition of human, do you see consciousness as part of the definition? Like is that what you're asking?
Right. So exactly. So when you're asking what is it that you value or what's specific about a human that has you value it more than animals or whatnot, the answer can't be reduced to the definition. It wouldn't work.
Wait,
even in your case, you wouldn't find that transcendental metaphysical value claim, right? That it wouldn't be in the dictionary definition. That would just be what is, right? That would just be. It wouldn't include metaphysics. It wouldn't include these categories. It wouldn't include like love. It wouldn't include all of these things that we value that we actually can't grab and hold, right? We can't pull them down into the natural world and point to them and be like, That's that moment. That's that love. That was that shared experience.
That's
Right?
It sounds
exactly what you can do. You can point to all those moments and say that's what we cherish.
well. Wait,
Easy.
but it's
All
it
those
just
moments.
when you say that the thing I value isn't actually part of like what the definition of human is, right? Then I'm just going, why did you answer NTT with human? Because that's supposed to be what makes the morally relevant difference, and it's not the property of being human, right? If you're gonna say it's something else, so then I guess if it's not human, what is it?
Well, I mean, it could be an endless. I mean, the answer could be an endless list of things that I can't possibly know.
Well, if you could just say you could just say I don't know or whatever. Like if you're just unable to, and I'm not saying that to be one sec. And I'm not saying that to be a dick, like unable,
Right.
but
No,
you know, if you just don't like you can't give an answer to NTT, right? Or the only answer you can give is one that's like incomprehensible because you're using a proprietary definition we don't understand. That's fine. Like if you agree that that's what's going on, I'm happy to move to some other thing.
Well, I mean, I could say I believe I believe that we're made in the image of God. I could say.
Okay,
that.
yeah. So then I'd ask, what's the argument that God exists?
There, I don't need an argument.
Why would I be persuaded of that?
I'm not here to persuade you.
That's fair.
Okay. Well, yeah, but I mean, pardon me?
I think that's a fair call, man. I'm a believer these days, gentlemen. I have changed my views. It's been a beautiful journey, but you saying that humans are made in the image of God. Okay, so let's say humans are made in the image of God. Lucky humans. But do you agree that non-humans still feel pain, suffer, want to
okay,
live,
wait, but there's one or two things. Wait, so first of all, so I don't agree with either of you. I'm not a theist, right? I'm not convinced of that kind of stuff. So what I hear when I hear the trait as being made in God's image, I hear the trait as having a property that there's no reason to believe a being has, and I want a substantiation. Now, like if there's just not one and there's no argument, then
a problem, though.
Yeah, well, just let me finish. If there's just why does it matter? Well, if I'm
not sorry, Isaac, not you. I was still following on Jimbob's point. Why does it matter if we were in the image of God? Cool.
I do have one more thing to say about the image of God stuff. So no, that's totally fine. So yeah, the first thing is just like from my perspective, if I'm trying to understand what is the separation that Jimbob is making here, and do I agree with it, right? If the separating factor offered is something that I don't agree exists, right, then it's like that's the barrier to me getting on board with the position. I'm not even convinced that the thing you're talking about exists. So just one thing, that's one flag, is just the trait that you invoked. I don't think you can actually give an argument that it exists. Just one other thing. Okay, so I know you guys are both theists, I guess. So maybe I'll go down another path here also. There's another thing we could say, right? Because I'm not sitting here asking you. In fact, I should have cleared this up initially, right? Like I don't think that I need to talk you out of Christianity or anything like this. Now, I do, when I make that argument, when I say, what's the argument God exists, that's not me saying, what's the optimal way that I can persuade Jimbob? That's just me saying, I want people to notice that's an unsubstantiated part of the position. But, you know, if I was talking to a Christian, if I was trying to kind of like persuade them or something, I wouldn't say anything that contradicts Christianity. I'd start with some basic things. Like, first of all, just as a point of agreement, obviously, Christianity doesn't prescribe against veganism. It's an option on Christianity. You can be vegan if you want. I'm sure we don't disagree about that, right?
And we don't even judge the vegan either.
Okay, right. Yeah, no judgment. It's an option. It's like being a garbage man on Christianity. Like, it's just, you can be a garbage man if you want to, or you cannot. It's your choice. So the way that I argue with a Christian, if my intention is to persuade them, not just like persuade the audience or whatever, I'm going to try to talk in terms of their preferences. What accounts for the difference in preferences? I'm not going to talk about what accounts for the difference in whether it's right or wrong, because they'll invoke God there, and then we have to have a debate about whether God exists. So we can just say, like, look, you have a preference for not, you know, harming humans in these kind of ways, or I guess when I say human, I'm using my definition. I don't know what you mean, but you have a preference for not harming humans in these kind of ways, and you don't have that preference when it comes to animals. So we can ask sort of what's the separator there, right? So that's, is the answer still the answer when same as earlier when you interpreted it in terms of why is one right and the other wrong? If I ask why the preference for one and not the other.
God, he said.
Okay, I might not know what the preference is as far as I might not be able to isolate what that is, or if it's driven strictly by a preference or whatnot, or maybe even
God, mate. You said image of God, so let's talk about it.
Well,
Why
that
then?
doesn't give me my preference though.
Well, your
but-
preference is to not murder beings that are made in the image of God,
It's
but you don't
not-
care
Well,
about it.
no, there's distinction there though, James, right? Like when he said being made in the image of God, he took me to be asking NTT with respect to why is it immoral to kill humans but not morally problematic to kill animals. So I'm rephrasing it in terms of preferences now. And his answer, when it's why do you prefer one and not the other, as opposed to why is one moral and not the other, he doesn't, if I'm understanding you correctly, he doesn't want to invoke God's image there, because that's not what accounts for his preference. That's what accounts for the difference in moral value.
Right, because my preferences could actually go against what I believe. I could have instincts that might go against what I believe. I could even argue that abusing animals, like, you know, is an act against myself. And could be very well immoral and have nothing to do with it.
Bad karma. Red alert.
Isaac, I wanted to respond one thing before, because when you said, you know, well, now you have to give me an argument that God exists in this realm, and it's related. Is that you know, like if someone who loves you, like you know, a partner or a your mom or dad, whoever it is, that expression of love, right? If someone said, James, I love you. We disagree. I love you as a human being. You couldn't possibly, you know, realistically say, Jimbob, you can't prove that. You can't prove love exists.
No.
Could
What I would say is just be like, oh, this guy has a really nice feeling towards me. That's awesome. That's good enough for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the reason is the things we value, especially even if it's the moral, if we're talking in this case morality, there's not going to be not even including God, but the sense, the morality of it, compassion, love. These are also not things we can actually prove exist. Yet we argue for or against positions that assume they do.
Of course we can. That makes no sense.
No,
when I have compassion, it's me fitting the definition of compassion. I feel, or like empathy. It's like I'm feeling what it would be like to be that experience. That's the reality. That's what we've named that human experience.
Right.
Empathy. Okay, so that's what it is. We can put a label on it. Boom, it's there. Everyone's empathy might be a little different level, and feelings of empathy might change a little bit at times. But basically, empathy is empathy. We all know what it means.
I'm saying what we're talking about transcends things we can define in the material sense. Like, for instance, if I rephrase it, and forgive me if I flub this, Isaac, but maybe you can rephrase it so it works. You know, what if I said what's present in what's true of your grandma that's not true of a random old lady at Trader Joe's, that if was absent in your grandma would justify you never talking to her again and visiting for the holiday. Right.
No past experience with her, no family tie or connection. Boom, cool, whatever, lady.
Right, but then the conclusion of that couldn't really be judged as absurd if I said, no, it's no longer my grandma, and so no longer hugging her or seeing her wouldn't be like some weird. It wouldn't seem out of the ordinary, right?
Yes. How is this relevant?
It's relevant because what makes up who she is can't be just the definition of what a grandmother is biologically.
It's just part of her identity.
But what's the issue that you're? But what are you saying is wrong about what I said? That's what I'm not getting.
Oh, no,
what's
not wrong.
Yeah.
It wasn't wrong. It was just the question. Now you have to prove. You know,
it's one part of her identity.
Well,
like
I didn't say.
Like my religion.
I didn't say you have to. I just said if you want to bring me around the position or anyone who's not already sold on God existing, that's just a huge roadblock, right?
Right, but I'm saying that would apply to a whole category of things that you probably maybe take for granted. I don't love. Love would be one. Truth itself, you couldn't really prove or make an argument that truth exists because you'd have to appeal to truth to even get into the conversation. So
You can
So
do
all
the
these
math.
things-
1 + 2. It's true.
Yeah, but
Boom.
I don't
Right,
I don't
as soon as
understand
someone-
what the problem is supposed to be though.
Oh, the problem with because when I say
No,
made
with
in the image of
what
God-
I said is what's the
okay,
yeah.
so I said made in the image of God, and you'd say, well, then now you have to make an argument that God exists for that made in the image of God to be convincing, right?
Yeah, I'd need an argument, yeah.
Right.
Or just do an internal critique. And why does it fucking matter? You think it's okay to just murder all of a sudden? Where's your math there? Where's your logic there? That if they're not human because they're not made in the image of God, everyone is fine to slit their throats? What the fuck kind of logic is that, mate?
Well, it wouldn't be logic. It would be that.
Oh, it's not.
No, it wouldn't be logic.
It
It
isn't.
wouldn't. It's not illogical. It's just.
Yes, it
not,
is
no,
because
it's
of the amount of things we share in common. So even if we don't share that one thing in common, we still share enough that it's not okay to slit their throats.
No, that's not consistent with my worldview, though. So you're appealing to
And
your
that's what I'm
worldview.
saying. Your worldview's fucking fucked up, and it leads to a lot of throat slitting, mate. It's fucked up. It's bad shit. Bad shit. Bad. Bad. Real
Okay.
bad. Stop splitting throats, please, bro. Stop paying people to do it for you. It's
I
fucked.
don't.
Okay, cool. Don't eat the flesh of murdered beings that are murdered so that you could eat their flesh. Just go vegan, bro. It's simple. We're waiting for you. You're a fucking smart guy. Join us instead of being against us and killing more and more sentient beings. Think about it.
Is there anything else? Actually, I wanted your response, Isaac, about the grandma thing. Would that be an accurate summary of what another version of the NTT, but just using grandma?
I'm not sure that I understood it. Are you just taking some two things and then saying what accounts for the difference in attitude?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if I said it again, like grandma, what's true of grandma that isn't true of a random lady, that if you removed from grandma would justify never talking to grandma again.
Yeah, given that you have a view that you ought never talk to the random lady and you don't have that view with your grandma, you're saying what's true of the one but not the other. Such that if it were changed,
grandma, would it, like I'm asking, could you remove the identity grandma in its wholeness, and have it be something that was more than just the definition of what a grandma is biologically? Like, she's the DNA and the.
I'm not really sure I understand the question, but I don't think anyone's going to answer by just saying grandma, right? Because if you say say there was some other. I feel like we're getting a bit off track, but if you say there was some other woman who you had the same childhood experiences with, and everything is the exact same, it's just no biological connection, they'd probably still be like, yeah, I'd hug that woman or whatever the difference was. So it's probably not just the property of being grandma. That'd be kind of weird.
Well, I guess what I'm.
It's just valuing your grandparents just in virtue of them being your grandparents.
Right. And what I'm pointing to is even if I had not said made in the image, my without running the dialogue itself, I'm wondering if you've thought about it, and obviously you've gone up against a bunch of people using this argument in the dialogue tree itself. Is it possible that the thing someone's valuing, they can't fully grasp what it is, so they would have to say, I don't know, but it's something.
Well, I don't think there is a to say that they're valuing a thing that they don't grasp just seems to not make sense to me.
Or they can't. Let's say
if to say they can't articulate it, they do grasp it, but they can't articulate it. That's different. Is that what you're getting at? Because if you say they value it and don't grasp it, to me there's a contradiction there, because that would mean they both have and don't have the concept.
That's more accurate. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I meant.
I do think it's possible. So, for instance, you said it's human. Again, this is the thing. I just want to flag this. This is the kind of thing that is very hard for people who aren't into philosophy to appreciate as serious. They probably will just go, why is AY going on about the human thing? But it's actually that kind of shit is quite important. Wait, I forgot my point. What was the thing that you had just asked right before that?
Oh, I was saying we were talking about the failure to be able to articulate.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry, I remember why I was talking about that now. So yeah, so people don't understand why I would flag that, but it's important. So when you say that word, right? I don't understand what you mean. It could be that you understand what it means, and it could be that if you were able to convey the concept to me, I would actually agree with the view, right? So yeah, it could be that you're right and you just don't make sense to anybody, right? Say you could be the Helen Keller of carnism or something,
No, she was just.
I don't actually know anything about her. I just know she could. She was like dumb and deaf and blind or whatever.
How does she have a British accent?
I honestly don't. I'm not
That's
here to
weird.
defend like the historicity of Helen Keller or something like that. But you get the point though, which is
no,
just
I get it.
yeah.
No, I get it. Is that to be able to locate it, to take the bait on being able to actually say what the thing is, whether it's a trait or a set of.
What do you mean take? Sorry,
I
yeah,
mean,
go ahead.
It's a kind of dialogue.
I don't think when you say
near that.
Did I NTT? Yeah, but the family has been around since ancient Greece. Still a family of arguments.
Oh, okay.
NTT is my version though. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a good tool because
see
it'll
Porphyry.
Show the inconsistency, right? But actually, I had a question about the MTT separate from me being in the dialogue right now of it.
Yeah, that's fine. I feel like we didn't address the thing that you just said fully though.
Sorry.
Well, I got carried away with the current thing we're talking about, so I just felt like there was something that wasn't closed off there. You got to prompt me again. I'm very bad at going backwards. I've smoked too much weed in my life.
Definition.
Oh yeah, right. Articulating it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So it was kind of closed off, but yeah, the point is just like anytime someone says something to you that just sounds like they say a word you don't know the meaning of, and some, you know, they give you some proposition like in virtue of that word, like pigs can fly or something, right? Like, I mean, well, okay, I guess it doesn't work if you know part of the sentence is false. Wait, let me think of how to better say this. Someone can always give you a term, you don't know what it means, and then some proposition containing that term, you're going to be unsure of the truth value of. So you're going to sit there going, maybe that person's right, maybe they're wrong, but I can't assess the position. And I remember what the other thing I want to say about it was that it's not bait, right? Like the idea isn't to, well, I mean, I guess it really depends on the person. I'm sure there's some people who do just try to bait you in and just, you know, try to like humiliate you. And I think there's times when people do need to be humiliated. I just don't think this is like one of those times. But yeah, it's not so much when like whether it's bait is almost a matter of the intentions of the person arguing, right? Like my intention, if you were just to say I can't convey any of my position on this, then I would just move along, right? It's fine. But my intention is more just to see if you can articulate the position so that I can assess it. Like that's the only interest for me. It's not bait. It's just I want to understand the view. So
no, I get it.
We don't have to stay on that though. If you want to go to your other thing.
No,
but,
I didn't mean that in that way. I meant it more like the person being asked that could see that, oh, maybe I can answer this in a way, and then maybe they find out they didn't name all the traits, or maybe they left one out, or maybe it wasn't identical to the thing they said. And it's almost like if someone, a loved one, asks you, why do you love me? Like, what is it about me that you love? No matter what they name.
You can say a whole list of things. You might forget one or two, but you can say a whole long list of things. And that's the same with this. We can say so many traits that are relevant as to why we shouldn't throat slit. And if we forget a couple, it's all good. Like we've the solid arguments there. All you've said is taste and made in the image of God. We've got a long list of reasons why the murder is wrong. It hurts them badly. It scares the shit out of them. And we wouldn't never do that to humans. So why then? That's not nice to do to someone. Whether the someone has 4 legs or 2 or wings or scales, it sucks.
Right. That's your opinion, but it doesn't.
That's just a fact. What I said is a fact.
No, you didn't provide a basis for the moral claim, though.
I don't need to. All I'm saying is there's enough in common that it doesn't make sense to just go, well, who cares about inflicting horrific suffering and death on them? Because there's enough in common. We're almost the same in a lot of ways. I can list them again: eyes, ears, nose, feelings, etc., etc., etc. So there's so many things in common that it's like, hey, we've got some differences. I don't even know all of the traits. You know, I might be made in the image of God, and you know, you do taste really good, but there's such a long list of reasons why I shouldn't murder you. I will just eat mushrooms. I would just eat anything else
until you're starving, and then it's okay.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's okay. It's not good. I don't think this is fine now. I think, fuck, I have to kill. I don't want to do this, but I have to. I'm dying.
Why don't you just die then?
I might. I don't know what I'd do in that situation. I like to think I would rather than kill someone, but survival instinct is strong. Humans have been in survival situations, and they would never have thought they would kill and eat another human, but they fucking did it because that's how hungry they were. You do crazy shit when you're starving.
Yeah, you're just saying when you're in when you're in a calm, collected, not starving to death state, you would say it's bad. But if you were to, you know, be put in some insane condition mentally. Like, you probably, like, who knows how you'd reason. You just you don't want to make assumptions about how you'd reason in that state. Maybe your morality would, like, break
Right,
down.
then it's conditional and not necessarily objective moral.
It's conditional. It's not
Oh,
objective.
wait, but is when you say objective moral, is James, are you even talking about that, or are you talking about preferences right now?
I'm talking about that, like, I'm talking about name the trait. I'm saying, you know, we have a very strong preference against it to the point that we would classify it as immoral to murder a human. I think we can all agree on that.
It seems like I don't know exactly. I'm not clear exactly where we got to with NTT. I understand when we ask it in terms of morality, you'll say the property is
we got to taste for his kids, and then we got to I guess we didn't. It was just image of God. That's where we got to.
Well, I heard image of God when we ran NTT in terms of what makes one moral and the other not moral. And then when we switched to preferences, I'm not...
we didn't go through preferences?
Pardon me?
Yeah, we didn't go through preferences. You wanted to get the image of God part out, and then like, just be like, let's go to preference.
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to answer I guess I just want to know, like... Yeah, same kind of question. What's true of one but not the other? But I want to know what I am asking in terms of why have the preference not to murder the one, and then either the preference, I guess, the preference to murder the other, and I guess I'm using murder to mean brutal killing. Yeah.
And is it a valuable preference difference? Is it just taste, which is not a very good reason to murder somebody, because we can get taste elsewhere, and taste isn't for survival. It's whatever. So what are your reasons, bro? Like, okay, image of God. Okay, does that still make slitting throats a better idea?
See, but the thing is, we don't need to go into that stuff though, because he can maintain all the Christian beliefs and still agree with veganism, right? If
I know, and that's what I'm saying. I'm doing internal critique, bro. I'm saying, let's just say we are made in the image of God. Let's go with the Christian vibes. Does it still seem wise to inflict so much suffering on these other beings?
Well, I mean,
that's very nice to me, mate. And I don't think they would. I think they would agree with me if they could tell me. And they do with their screams and cries. This isn't fucking nice, guys.
No, they do it to each other, so they're not. That's not.
Yeah, they do it to each other, but that doesn't mean we should add to the fucking suffering, bro. Just because they do it to each other, we would do it to each other if we didn't have this advanced civilization, and we have done it to each other in the past, and we still do dumb shit to each other now. But that doesn't mean good people like you and me need to pay for throat slitting because we.
I think now you're conflating human interaction, murder, war. Atrocities with.
I'm just saying the bad things.
Food sourcing.
I'm just saying that humans do dumb shit to each other. Animals, yeah, they sometimes kill each other and rape each other and do dumb shit to each other. Does that? Yeah. Or a lot of the time, who cares? Does that mean that we should? Does that mean a good person? Not all the time. It happens and it happens. Does that mean we should? Me and you. Oh well, fuck it. Let's pay for rape. Let's pay for throat slitting. Let's support these things just because they do it.
Well, I mean.
Yeah, we should. We should just fuck it. Pay for murder. They murder. Fuck it. Let's murder. Or can we just
that's not the reasoning? That's not the reasoning, though.
What is the reasoning? That's what I'm trying to find.
That's just a bunch of poisoning the well. The appeal to emotion, throat slitting, and all that stuff.
That's what it is, but mate, that's how they get fucking killed. What do you think they dive?
No, that's a lot of mass. That's a lot of mass factors.
Okay, you hold them in the head.
Yeah,
you gassed.
I'm also.
They don't pass out peacefully. You're still ending their life, dude. Yeah, it doesn't fucking matter. You're getting lost.
I have to say also, I'm not clear. I mean, it depends how exactly you define appealing to emotion, but like that's like informal fallacy, right? Like it's not. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a problem to appeal to emotion, right? Like when you're trying to.
That's good rhetoric.
Well, I mean, but it's not. Wait. But when you say rhetoric, like, so. If appealing to emotion, I mean, it depends how we define it, but if that's just to evoke, to intentionally try to evoke emotion in the audience yeah, well, that's sure, but like emotion broadly for the appeal to emotion, like if the fallacy is to invoke emotion to persuade people of your position, like I just don't care about that. Like that's a fine thing to do.
No, that's fine. I mean,
because can I just say, just let me finish, because the thing is, no, that's fine. It's just, the thing is, like, are they making an invalid inference? No, there's no logical error, right? It's someone, if you're trying to persuade someone, it's actually like a very natural thing to do, to like draw attention to the aspects of the thing you want to persuade them away from doing that seem distasteful to you, and maybe they'll feel the same. right? Like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
think
that
that there's
could
any
work.
kind of error in doing
Sure.
that.
I mean, that could work on emotionally people who actually are moved by emotion, but it wouldn't make it a logical argument. I mean,
It's just part of it, mate.
his
It's
rants
just
are assuming it's wrong. I
no,
want to
my
hear why.
yeah, I know, bro. For the same reason. Thank you. That's a great question. Why do I think it's wrong? For the same reason that I think it's wrong for me to rape and murder a human. They're going to have a horrible experience, and I don't want to be the reason for their horrible experience. And I don't think it's right for me to be the reason for that horrible experience based on the person I strive to be, which is a non-violent, peaceful being.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just get violent in debates, a little here and there.
I haven't slaughtered anybody. I've just been talking loudly and a what?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that could work on people. It's like when Isaac
Doesn't
like,
very well, apparently.
Well, it
I don't
doesn't.
know.
It works on some people.
That makes sense.
I'm
Huh?
saying it. If when Isaac says, okay, well now you have to state the case for God. If I made an argument that was just like some sort of like preachy, hyped up, emotional, higher register, and I started tearing, and like he wouldn't. I mean, it's fine to use it.
If it was logical, it doesn't matter. That's fine. Who cares? If it was logical,
I'm saying that your reasoning.
That's all good.
I'm saying your moral reasoning is illogical and incoherent.
Wait, what's the logic error? But that's important. What's the logic error? Because I think, yeah. In fact, I don't even need to say more. I don't see a logic error in what he's saying.
Wait, did you hear his basis for why something's immoral?
It's
not why something's immoral. It's for me. Why I think it's preference. Wrong. Why it's preference. Why I think it's wrong.
I heard. Tell me if I'm wrong, James. I thought I heard you say that it's about creating a negative experience for other beings.
Well, that's why I don't want to do it, and I don't want to do that to humans, and I also don't want to do it to non-humans because we share so much of our life experience in a similar way that I'm not the kind of person who likes making people, whether they're human or not, feel horrible. So I will avoid that if it's as easy as choosing lentils instead of ground cow. Like it's just a really obvious thing for me. I don't even have to barely go out of my way. Right. I don't want to be a violent person, and this is a way that I was being a violent person by funding violence.
You just don't want to cause a whole shit ton of suffering if it's just insanely easy to avoid.
Yeah, I don't like causing insane amounts of suffering. Like I don't want to remind myself of Hitler. You know what I mean?
So
I don't want to cause insane amounts of suffering.
Because like I have similar views. Like I mean, when you talk about experience, it sounds a little utilitarian. I know James isn't actually a strict utilitarian, but like what's I don't see the logic problem though. Like what do you think is illogical about what he said?
Well, no. If you're just strictly saying I prefer this, I prefer that, there's no logical issue.
Okay. And I think that the logical issue is with you, bro, because you generally feel the same way when it comes to humans and how we interact with humans. You feel exact same as me. Don't murder, don't inflict needless suffering on other beings that are like me. And then when it comes to other beings who are a lot like you, with the eyes, with the ears, with the sleeping, with the breathing, with the feeling pain, they're a lot like you. For them, you're like, yeah, but fuck them.
Yeah, but I'm consistent.
I actually don't. I can't.
That's exactly the point I just made, dude. You're not consistent. You're against murdering humans, but then you are okay with murdering those who are just like you. So they're still just like you. There's a little difference here and there, but they're still a lot like you. And I've named many traits.
I don't accept that.
They're not pieces of paper. They're not tables. They're not leaves. They're sentient beings with arteries, with a heart, with consciousness.
You're arguing your perspective, though.
All
you're saying is I'm inconsistent with your perspective.
I don't think so. And this is what I'm trying to tell you, is that you haven't given what I think either of us really, if we talk about it more, would agree is a solid reason to inflict the pain, suffering, and murder. You said image of God. So my question after that is, first of all, I don't really know what that means, but let's just go with it. Anyone who is not created in the image of God, but can still feel pain and suffer and doesn't want to die, you're like, who cares about all of your feelings? You weren't made in the image of God. I'm going to kill you. Bang. Does that make sense?
No, that's just a misrepresentation of my position.
I think he'll want us. I think he'll want us. I bet I know what he'll say. I think he'll say that they don't matter morally because they're not made in God's image, but he still has a preference against just making them suffer a bunch or something.
No, he doesn't. He has a preference in favor
Yeah.
of making them suffer a bunch.
Well, I don't know if I'm understanding his view right. Is that what you would say, or did I not get you right?
I could prefer against suffering and still justify, under my worldview, eating animals.
And that would be fucking insane.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
please
but,
go ahead and try to do that.
But wait. But with
like
with the claim about inconsistency, though, when James says you won't, there's these beings who have like all these features that overlap with us, and you won't kill them, and you say, well, you're not running like an internal critique. You're assuming you're bringing your view into it. Like, I'm assuming that what you mean, like I think that you, tell me if I'm wrong, isn't what you want to do? You want to say if they're not made in God's image, then they don't matter morally, but if they're still like sentient beings who are suffering a whole bunch and are very similar to humans, as I define it, right, then you would still prefer not to kill them, even if it's not a moral offense, given they're not made in God's image. Or am I not understanding you?
It would go bigger. It would go beyond that. I would state that suffering or the reduction of suffering is not equal to morality.
I don't think James is committed to that, though. You're not
I'm not. I'm saying preferences that we make based on how we view the world and what we like and don't like.
Because it can sound like that. Like, because I find I come off sounding a bit utilitarian sometimes when I talk about veganism, because we say things like, yeah, I just don't want to create a ton of like suffering experience out there. That sounds like hedonic utilitarianism, right? But the thing is, like, I know also, like, if you if you give James like some of those situations, like, raping someone who the rapist gets more well-being than the victim, I think he still doesn't like those. So I don't think he's like a strict utilitarian like that.
Because a rights violation is huge.
It's just to say that all of the suffering is like a massive reason in favor of not fucking with the animals, right? It's not to commit him to utility.
Yeah. My view of eating animals is that that you actually ought to respect the animal. And
by murdering them.
See,
I mean, it's just crazy what you're saying. Do you feel like I could respectfully murder your child?
No.
Do you feel there's a
way? I already made the distinction, so you keep attacking outside of my worldview.
Well,
there's no possible way for me to respectfully murder your child, but there is a way to possibly respectfully murder a cow. How? What does it look like? And then if I do the same thing to your child, is it respectful or still not? And then what the fuck? That doesn't make sense. Do you see that or not? No, you don't.
How would you talk to like a Native American hunting who has appreciation for the animals and the world?
I'd say, bro, I tell you a better way to appreciate them. Don't murder them. Here's some fucking fruit and nuts and seeds. Enjoy.
Yeah, you can only use that one on the social justice vegans, because the ones of us who are more hard-headed are just I'm definitely gonna say definitely make it illegal for tribes people to murder animals, like the cringy. Sorry, I was just gonna say there's
another option.
There's some of these really cringy, like very far left vegans who will try to like justify this kind of stuff, and I just think those people are like so lost. Like, I mean, I don't care if it's like there's some traditional native culture that's like hunting people and cannibalizing them. Like, you don't get to do that in Canada. We're gonna make it illegal. If you try to, you're going to jail. Like, sorry, same attitude with animals.
Yeah, because of the rights violations. Those sentient beings.
It's just the idea of going like food desert, so murder people, or like native reserve, so murder. It's like, it just sounds insane. I don't see why with animals it should sound, not insane.
Nope.
Well, all you're doing is using a legal arm, right, with a preference, and forcing someone out of their worldview. And
that's what we do with laws. Even when child abuse,
I fully support that. Just like, I mean, I think you have the same attitude, just with different topics. Like with murder, of humans, right? You go, I don't care what their preferences are. I don't care if it's none of that matters. You don't get to murder. I'm just taking the same attitude, but in a different domain, just with animals.
Because it's a sin, brother. Thou shalt not kill.
Yeah, don't kill. Killing's bad.
Killing's fucked.
But
I think pretty obvious.
So how do you guys justify the consumption of animals but not eating it?
Huh?
That's a necessity.
Sorry, can you? Did you misspeak there? The consumption of animals but not eating it? Did you mean not killing it?
No, not eating it.
How can you consume animals without eating it?
Consuming animal products?
Oh, like purchasing the products but not eating it.
Right.
That's obviously bad. You're still creating the demand. Like that's even worse. It's like you buy it and like throw it in the garbage. Like that's really bad.
Right.
And then you're going to buy other food to sustain yourself and eventually lead to more harm and other shit. So that doesn't make sense. But no, we're against.
No, I mean, just like
well.
like tallow, everyday life, your chair, your headphones, computing.
Yeah, we do what we can, bro. We live as vegans in a not fully vegan world, so we do everything we can. And what we can't do,
Everything?
we can't do yet.
Wait. Everything?
Yeah, pretty much. I look on the ground when I walk. I don't fucking step on ants. Like, I do what I can do, bro, as a human, an imperfect human that makes mistakes sometimes. But I think I do pretty well. Like, if we compared mine and your cause of suffering and harm to others, you know, I think I would smash you, dude. But I don't know everything in your life, but I don't hurt anyone. I don't rape anyone. I go out of my way all day not to be a bad person. But then you 3 times a day fund some bad shit. It's a difference.
No, it just seems like an arbitrary standard of where you justify consumption of animals.
What do I have that's vegan? This chair's fucking vegan. I don't buy leather. Like, I basically everything I do is 100% vegan. Things that I'm not aware of, like maybe if I bought a piece of plastic or something. Yeah, I'm not perfect. I'm not claiming to be. I'm just saying, dude, step up your game because you're not even trying. Like, you're just buying fucking flesh.
I never committed to your worldview, though.
No, I know you didn't, bro. I'm just encouraging you. I'm like, dude, fucking, you're a nice guy. So why are you paying for murder? Join the fucking vegan party so the world can be a more peaceful place. Please stop killing animals, bro. Please, I'm encouraging you, not trying to force you.
No, I think that choice made wholesale to everybody would kill a lot more animals in the
and that's the bit you got no evidence for. It's a totally silly belief. There's so much evidence that points to the opposite of that. So I hope you do more research and realize how ridiculous what you're saying is. That if we all go vegan, more animals get murdered. With what fucking equation do you get to that?
I didn't say murder.
How would more animals die overall? You have a belief? Why?
Overpopulation, starvation.
Overpopulation. What? If we're all vegan, we're not creating any more animals. So how does it create more death?
Overpopulation occurs outside of producing cows.
So overpopulation.
Even
what?
animals
Like,
we don't eat, like there's overpopulation, and so they move and they take over environments, right? And so
on the topic of overpopulation.
Wait, are you
on the topic of
us?
overpopulation? You realize there's tens of billions of extra beings here that don't need to be here? Just on the term of overpopulation. Does that matter at all? Well, the climate crisis, but nah, fuck it, who cares?
What?
Just add. Why do you think there's so many animals here? Because we fucking humans rape animals to breed more. Imagine if we didn't do that. All those animals soon would be gone one way or another.
Wait, how many people don't?
80 billion land animals, roughly 80 billion land animals. Let's say it was 20 million, 20 billion. It's a fucking lot still. So that's a lot of extra hungry mouths, creating waste, taking up space, being fed, etc. It's just one factor. So many factors of why it would be better to have a vegan world. World ain't going vegan overnight anyway, so let's not even talk about the hypothetical. Let's be practical about how the world will change. It will be gradual. We'll have time to create new systems and shift, and things will get better as we go. There'll be ups and downs, just like anything, but it could be like this. Boom, boom. And that's awesome. That's awesome. If we don't, we're going bang, bang, down, and just destroying, killing more beings, more violence, more suffering, more destruction of the planet. Like, it's so obvious. So obvious.
How many human beings don't need to be here?
I ain't talking about human beings. I'm talking about the animals that you guys are paying to breed and be murdered or killed or whatever you want to say. All of those animals be here. Yeah, they don't need to be
the production of animals.
Still hungry mouths. They're still hungry mouths that need to be fed and take up space and shit and cause problems and diseases. They don't need to be here. We'd have a lot less of a huge issue with all of that.
Wouldn't be the
Because
solution.
we'd be eating plants instead. We'd be eating plants instead. And because animals need to be fed about 6 to 12 times more plants, that means we get rid of 6 to 12 times more of the space being used for the animals, all the pollution from the animals. We eat the plants directly, so there's no shortage of food. We've got more than enough food to feed 10 billion people when they get here. But how much easier would everything be if we didn't have 80 billion other mouths to feed, causing all these problems, disease, pain and suffering, murder, blah, 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 blah.
Let's say we skip to the majority, if not all, the world goes vegan.
Okay.
Would you support the next logical step, intervening between animals?
I would. I tell you what I would do, but by that point, we will probably have a lot better technology where we'll be able to feed the animals that usually kill. And I would be in favor of just going, here's some food, so then they can lounge around all day, eat their food, and be fed, be happy, be healthy, and no one needs to get murdered.
Okay, if hypothetically in the next 5 years,
Yeah.
and let's say you have a child who's born, and you have the option to inject them with an mRNA that makes them allergic to meat, would you do that without their consent?
No, no,
Why
I wouldn't
not?
do that. I'm not interested in forcing an allergy on someone.
Okay.
I don't think that's enough to do. No.
What about you,
And
Isaac?
yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think more about it, but no, like making people allergic isn't the answer. I don't really think.
Yeah,
And how allergic, it
I'd
just
have
sounds like you're eating someone's for your own personal preference, even though it may help animals. Like that just leads into pretty weird territory. I don't think that's a great idea.
Isaac?
Yeah, I'd have to get a better sense of the empirics around it. So I don't actually know offhand, but I can tell you in principle there is some threshold of utility generated from the action, which, if crossed over, would result in me saying that it's ethical. So it'd just be a matter of like analyzing what we think the outcomes will be there.
Right. Yeah.
So
because,
if we thought,
human
for instance,
communities-
that would take out like 50% of the animal holocaust or something, if we had reason to think something like that,
yeah.
then I would absolutely support. I just don't know if it's yeah, I'd need to know the empirics. So you can understand. Sorry to cut you off, James, but you can understand the answer in principle, right? It's like I need data to make the assessment, but I can tell you what kind of assessments I would make based on what the data says.
Yeah. There'd be a two-part question.
Don't eat us. Please don't eat us. We're beautiful beings.
I
Please spare us.
I wouldn't eat your cat, but I would
If you
eat a
would
cat.
come near my cat, then you would know what slaughter feels like, friend.
I wouldn't eat your cat.
Would you
Fuck no,
actually?
you wouldn't.
You would eat
would-
cat generally though?
No, I would. I would eat a cat. I don't.
You would
I
eat a
don't-
beautiful
Fucking
cat.
such a weird.
Did you hear that, Dexter?
You know,
Did you hear that shit?
It should. It
You want
should.
to fucking kill your homies.
It's funny because it should sound no different than I would eat a cow, but just because we're just in this culture, it's just such a extreme thing to say.
Name the trait that's present in a cat. That's not. Well, you're vegan. So
Well, yeah.
there's.
Thank you. I'm glad. See, that means you. Yeah. See, you get the argument. Well, no. The trait is Scharfelglark, and if you want to know what that means, it's we're gonna have a hard time telling you.
Tell you.
Yeah. So who knows what my position is, or if anyone would agree with it if I were to articulate it. It's just a mystery.
Right.
I reckon I disagree.
But back to the question of the other transcendental stuff. Like if someone said, no, because I love them, would you go, well, you're going to have to show me evidence of what love is?
I don't know where in the dialectic you're picturing that coming in, but I don't see myself saying that.
Well, I mean, would you put love and morality in
no. I think I might see what you're saying. So I have a concept of love, unless look, all of our concepts are a little fuzzy. We point at the dictionary for a general idea. Whenever we delve way into a concept, there's going to be like fuzzy edges on it, except maybe certain really rigid concepts in some areas, like maybe math or something. I don't know. Now, granted that our concepts are all a bit fuzzy, we don't seem to be disagreeing about what love is, right? You're not saying, when I look up the dictionary definition, go, is this like roughly what you're talking about? You're not going, no, that's not what I mean, right? If you did that, then I would be in that same position I am with human, where I go, okay, well, if you don't mean what I mean by love, I'm not sure what exactly you're talking about. So yeah, it's going to be the same kind of pattern with any word.
Right, but you do see the fuzziness when you call into account the value thing that's not actually identical to even you and I hugging. Like we could say, oh, love is hugging, and then you're like, well, it can't be identical to hugging, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Just a feeling.
Right.
A rough feeling, it comes and goes in different waves and different severities, but we all know, like, when we say love, we have a general idea of that nice fuzzy feeling of warmth and like intent.
But that means that it's, if we're being honest, at least from my perspective, and a lot of people I've seen you interact with actually do go ahead and name a particular that can actually be isolated and then removed. But if the thing that you're identifying is is understood and conceived, like you, all three of us conceive it, right? We kind of get the concept of it. But if it can't be actually isolated, but we still intuitively know it's there, right? Like love and these other things. Could we actually, would it be reasonable to ask someone to isolate it such that it can be removed if we can't separate it from the concept or from an experience, and we can't place it into this other category called a single trait that can be removed?
I don't understand the question.
Okay.
I'm on another galaxy with what you just said.
Okay,
I'm that lost.
Let me try again. If love, the concept, which you just said is fuzzy and not identical to a single action.
Oh, it's not fuzzy. It's not fuzzy.
Well,
And I also didn't say it's not identical to a single action. Like it's presumably it is identical to the single action that is itself, right? Like love is. But I'm making a bit of a technical point there. But
that's actually an important technical difference, because you couldn't say
just because everything's identical to itself, right? It's just
Well, at that level, there will be actually some circular problems, because love won't be identical to me hugging you.
No, so that's what I was agreeing with, though. I agree, love isn't just hugging someone. I wasn't signing off on what I forgot your exact phrasing, but love isn't identical to any one specific thing, because I mean, just a trivial example is it's identical to itself.
And we would have to accept that, right?
Accept that a thing is identical to itself?
How do you justify murdering animals?
I mean, if
fuck's sake, what are we talking about? How do you justify it?
It's relevant, because if it's identical, if it's not only identical to itself, and you make it identical to some trait, then all you're doing is going, love now equals this other thing that I'm calling love that I could now remove.
Yeah, that I don't understand.
Okay, if morality is equal to the thing we value in the first object, right?
Sorry, if what is identical to what we value?
If morality, if what we call, because in your argument, the NTT, it's like, what is the moral thing that you're valuing? What is that thing, right? That's what you're asking in the
their life.
What's
their life?
Yeah, you're asking,
and that it being very similar to us.
We're not answering the question. I'm going through.
I know we're not answering the question.
I think that's exactly what's bothering James.
It's pissing me off. We're just talking about bullshit. Why do you think it's okay to murder animals?
See, I
don't have to say it's okay.
Well, wait, but
you do the fucking action, bro. So you're saying it's okay.
That's not logical.
Wait, but forgetting.
It's not logical to think that it's wrong and do the action.
Wait, but forgetting.
Tell me why it's moral to sit in a chair. I don't have to say it's immoral.
No, but forgetting the inference for a second. I mean, the point is, you obviously agree it's morally acceptable, right? Like we don't.
It's acceptable, but I wouldn't be like, you could be amoral. It doesn't mean it's moral. It's like it doesn't mean it's a moral act. It's simply.
I'd want to know why you think it's amoral and okay, like again, what are we talking about? Just let's get back to the fucking point. Why do you think it's okay to murder animals? So what's the difference, bro? You're against it with humans.
Well,
I think
that correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's just saying that he just has no reply to that critique.
Okay, because bro, like, let's say you were amoral, you're still going.
Animals
I don't.
Are here
are you amoral?
Wait,
How do you feel about this?
Wait. But
I think animals are
when you say they're here for us,
here for
right?
us?
But is that?
Dude,
but there could be something that's put here for us that you don't want to harm, though, right?
They're put here for us.
Like didn't God put? I might fuck up my Christian theology, but like, didn't God like put Eve there like for Adam? You probably shouldn't kill her because she's there for him or something.
They're here for us to enjoy. They're here for us to chill with.
I don't know if that's a good example because I don't know Christian theology well. But the point is just something could be put there for you and you still don't want to kill it, right? Presumably, it's not the fact that it was put there for you that
here for you equals must murder.
No, the distinction between human and animal and plants are here. They're under our domain, under our watch, and under our dominion. Even the title of the word.
How does that lead
how
does that lead to inflict horrific suffering is fine.
Say that God put certain humans under your dominion, right? Unless you're going to say that's logically impossible. So I don't think it is probably even on Christianity. But if say that God did that, you'd still say the same thing. He's under our dominion, whatever. But you wouldn't want to harm them, right?
No, because I have made the distinction that we're made in the image. So like
Right, but I'm
do
just
take that. I actually
I'm
do take
yeah.
that premise is that I actually take the that my child is actually not mine, but that my child is also like me, God's, and I'm here to guide them, to basically guide
But
them.
I'm just establishing that it's not just being put here for us that makes the difference, right? Like this, when I say, imagine if there was a group of humans that God put here under our dominion, you still don't want to harm them. That's precisely because there's something beyond just the fact that they're here for us that makes the moral difference between humans and animals. Right?
I have dominion.
You'd have to Isaac, you'd have to name something else that's not a human under my worldview, though, to kind of go through that.
I'm not sure how you mean that. What do you mean?
Well, because you said it's not precisely that things are here for you that makes the difference. Because if God provided you humans, right? You said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, from my worldview, humans, as we went through, are made in the image of God. The things that aren't made in the image of God are here under our supervision.
Yeah, see,
So
that's why I asked if the. That's why I started by asking.
Why is it good to suffer?
Well, that's why I started by asking.
Sorry, Isaac.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just that's why I started by asking if the hypothetical was a contradiction on your view, because if on your view, a human is definitionally got like properties that like preclude being under your dominion or something like that, then I can't give you a situation where God creates humans who are under our dominion. Are you saying that humans are like definitionally? In fact, again, humans, I don't know why I'm allowing this conversation, because, see, the thing that I think is that you actually probably are defining the term the same way as me, but because we seem to be able to talk when I use my definition just fine. I forgot your question. What did you ask?
Oh, it was that for you to run your example, you'd have to give me something that's non-human.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, yeah, so if, and just to be clear, do you think it's logically impossible for God to make a human who's under your dominion?
No, I would say that I wouldn't use the word dominion, but we could use it just for the sake of argument. That my children and their spirit and all that they are, which in my view transcends their body and their physiology, they are under my guidance.
Yeah, because I'm just establishing it has to. It seems like whatever you're naming here, it's not just the property of being under your dominion, right? Because it is logically possible in your view for God to make humans who are under your dominion, and you still wouldn't harm them. So it's more than children. It's right. More than just them being under your dominion. It's something beyond that.
So good, Isaac. You've got children under your dominion, you don't murder them. You've got animals under your dominion, you murder them. Now, why?
No, that doesn't follow.
I know it doesn't follow, but you tell me why you have this belief that
I told you.
Don't murder your children. You don't murder your children, but you murder
any humans.
The others that you pay people, but you are responsible for the murder of other sentient beings.
Well, yeah,
yes, non-humans. Yes, you are responsible for the murder of non-humans, even though they're under your dominion. Kids are under your dominion. You don't murder your kids. Non-human animals are under your dominion. You murder them. Why do their lives matter so little to you? What is the difference? Their substantive difference? Is it just made in God's image? And if so,
their lives matter. Their lives matter to me.
Yeah, but he's
okay.
But in virtue of what?
It looks like they matter.
In virtue of what
doesn't look like they matter to you. Bro.
Sorry, in virtue of what do they matter? So wait, but in virtue of what
do
they?
Why.
One second. In virtue of what do they matter so little that it's appropriate to stab them? Right, where you wouldn't support that for humans. Because just answering NTT with, well, one matters to me and the other doesn't. It's like the whole idea is we're trying to understand what accounts for the fact that one matters sufficiently that you wouldn't murder them and the other doesn't.
That humans are made in God's image. What we are as a set is beyond organism. We're out.
Okay, so just to be clear, if we had a being who's genetically and psychologically very similar to a human, but let's just make some slight alterations, right? Well, the other thing is made in God's image, right? Because all I'm going to do is try to take the same kind of mind and put it into a different kind of body and ask if you're okay with killing it. But maybe made in God's image includes mental properties, right?
Yeah, it's not just the image or the biological structure and these kinds of things.
is it logically possible to have a being that's that has the same kind of conscious experiences as a human and the same kind of physiology? We can allow, in fact, let's not do physiology. Let's just say same conscious experiences, different physiology, but which is not made in God's image.
Same physiology, same.
No, same mind,
faculties?
different physiology, same conscious experience, not made in God's image. Is that logically possible in your view?
No.
What's the
Hey,
contradiction?
do you think animals suffer very differently than us?
Wait, but just 1 second. What's the contradiction there? The logical contradiction that bars that situation?
Oh, that it would just undermine the entire holistic worldview.
But that's not a contradiction. I mean, some statement of the form P and not P, like the sky is blue and it's not the case the sky is blue. Like, what's the contradiction entailed by saying that we have a being that's has the same conscious experiences, different physiology, and is not made in God's image? What's the logical contradiction there?
Well, we wouldn't know what that thing is. I'm not sure what that thing is.
But that's not a contradiction, right? I was asking if it's logically impossible, which means is there a contradiction there? So it doesn't sound like you're saying there's a contradiction.
Is it logically impossible for an organism to not look like a human, but have the mind of a human?
Yeah, have the same kind of conscious experience, different physiology, and not be made in God's image. 3 properties.
Like a dog, they still experience happiness and joy and sadness and pain. You know, very similar to a dog is what we're talking about here.
Well, no, it could be human level intellect. It
Oh,
could,
like
yeah, it could be a mind
really
literally
smart.
just like ours, just different physiology.
Yeah, I would say
Basically,
they wouldn't be. Yeah, they wouldn't be made in the image of God.
Okay, so now say that we had beings like that, right? So they have the same kind of mind as like you or your loved ones, right? Like say that we were to kind of transport your, like, you get to experience like the conscious experience of someone you love, like maybe like a parent or something like this, and this being, and you can't actually tell them apart, right? Like from your perspective, you go, I can't tell if I'm my dad or if I'm this being, right? Do you, in that situation, actually think that it's fine to murder that being?
If I didn't know,
No. Given, I'm saying they have the same kind of conscious experience as us. So I'm saying if you were, no, you're aware that they're in this situation. You're aware that they're not human. I'm just saying they are the kind of being such that if you were, I'm just trying to say how similar their experience is. If you were put into their mind for like 5 minutes and then put in, say, someone you love's mind for 5 minutes, you couldn't tell the difference. You wouldn't know which one was the thing that's not made in God's image or that doesn't have human physiology or whatever. The experiences are the same. So I'm saying, given that you do know, right? You know that you have one of these beings that's not made in God's image, right? It's not human, but that has that same kind of conscious experience. If you were in its mind, you wouldn't notice any difference from being in like your parents' mind. That's the kind of mental life it has, right? The things that, yeah. So I'm asking not about the ethics, right? Because that's going to connect to all your objective morality stuff, whole can of worms. Just your preferences. Do you really have no, well, I shouldn't say really because you haven't said your view. Do you have a preference against killing that being that has the same conscious experience as, for example, like a family member?
is it an actual creature? Or are you talking about like an AI, like you're transporting all of that experience into a thing we're calling a being?
Yeah, let's say
synthetic?
We can leave it biological. It's fine. Like just say that it's you keep the mind the same, but you just alter some of the physiology towards an animal, right? Maybe you give them like some claws or like a little bit of
new
fur.
Animal that you've never seen with some shit you've never seen before.
Yeah,
a dragon.
I'd hunt the shit out of that.
Okay, so just to be clear, you when you look at your father's conscious experience or something like this, like you don't actually think that experience is valuable in of itself. Like you don't think your father's mind really.
No, I think it's valuable. It's just not identical to the wholeness of what I value.
Well, I didn't ask that. I just said like, okay, so if you'd be comfortable killing that kind of being, right, that has the same mind. It's just suggesting that the mind alone is not enough for you to think the being's valuable, right? So it's just, I think you can hold a view like that. It's
Right,
consistent.
it wouldn't be just the mind. Yeah, it wouldn't be just the mind.
Yeah, but just to be clear, it's say that there's a being whose mind is identical to your child. You think it's like you have a preference to murder that being.
Well, no, if it's like
James' expression right now is just bewildered by what I'm asking.
Is, yeah, but you're just inventing beings. I would have no knowledge of how to value them, because you're inventing a human that's not a human, that's also a human.
No, that makes it sound like a contradiction. I didn't say that it's a human and not a human at the same time.
Right, you're trying to figure out what is it about humanness that I don't murder them. And
well,
what you're asking is, could I tell the difference between a being that's made in the image of God and
it goes back further to what you said before, right? Because when we asked about NTT, I'm pretty sure you said being made in God's image, and so I'm trying to drive a counterexample to that, right? Where I find a being that has the same mental life as like your child or something like this, but yet is not made in God's image, and see if you really are in fact comfortable with killing that being. And the idea is like, if you are, then I think most people, and this is kind of the point of NTT, right? Like I think most people will just reject your view and say you're a lunatic. And I think that if you aren't, then let me finish, I'm almost done. And then if you aren't, then there's a logical contradiction, right? Because the trait is being made in God's image, and it's not the case that the trait's being made in God's image.
Right, but the problem is, unless I got a sense, because here's the thing, is that you're taking one trait and one thing, right? And you're not accounting for, like what James mentioned, of what makes up human and experience and love and all of these things. Like
I didn't hear mention of human. I heard being made in God's image. I was just responding to that.
Being made in God's image is.
But Jimbob, what you're saying?
We should be sensitive to this, because there is two of us and one of him. So yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Jimbob. Please go ahead.
It's okay. It's totally fine. Just get excited. It's all good.
I got shit to say.
It's fine.
I wouldn't know, because I can't imagine how I would interact with such a being and what it actually is.
Yeah, but see that you can say that, right? But I think, and I'm not suggesting you're being dishonest, but I think that, well, I think a little reflection, and you probably would change that view, to be honest. But I think that that's not. If the goal is to not have a position that seems kind of like crazy to people, I don't think that's going to do it, right? Because I can, with the thing is, like, I don't have to spell out every fucking thing about, a human mind or something like this, right? Like, if I give a sufficient amount of valuable stuff, the average person is just going to go, yeah, it's crazy to kill that, for whatever the other factors are. Like,
can that animal, that being, know his creator?
Can a human do
no.
that?
Let's say no, brother. Some humans don't. But let's just say no, they can't know their creator.
Because I'm just gonna say the mind is like the same as a human mind. So if that's something a human can do, then yeah, this thing can do that, and if not, then no.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Let's just say no. Even is it okay to murder?
Because the whole point is, like, let's just like cut to the chase. Like, I don't think, like, it's your kid's mind, dude. It's the same mind as your child. You really, not literally the same. Like, there's going to be differences, like the place the brain is like located or something like this. I mean, I guess they're mind, brain, whatever. But let's say so similar that you would not be able to tell a difference, right?
Yeah, if I couldn't tell the difference, you're merely saying A and B equal the same, and so. No,
I'm not saying. I'm not. Two things. I'm not saying that they're the same. I'm talking.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You're saying in this hypothetical.
30 seconds.
Hold on. Okay.
They have the same mental properties.
Hold on for like a long time.
Yeah, you're good. Same mental properties, not same physical properties.
Okay, I'm asking, in this hypothetical, do I know?
No, that was the second thing I was going to talk about. So there's two things. So the first is just there's not some saying that two things that are different are the same thing. Just to be clear, there's nothing like that. But I'm just saying you have two things where all of their mental properties are the same and their physical properties aren't. And then as for prompt me about the second thing that you asked there.
Because there's
whether you know it, right? Yeah, no. So to be clear, I do understand the confusion there, but I'm telling you, you are aware that this is the being that's not made in God's image. But I'm also saying, just to convey how similar the consciousness is, this is the kind of being that, were you put in its position, you wouldn't be able to tell whether you're in, say, like your son's body or this thing's body.
So if I was in their position,
yeah,
then
you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But when I ask you the question about would you kill this thing or not, there you are aware of the thing you're talking about. I'm saying, if it were the case that you were put into its mind, you wouldn't be able to tell if you're human or not. But in the hypothetical I give you when I ask you to decide if it's okay to murder or not, you are told that it's not a human. You're told this thing has the same mind, it's made in the image of God, or not made in the image of God, and its physiology is different.
Yeah, I mean, to be consistent, just because I don't conceive of it, because it's like saying, like, if you took exactly my daughter's brain, not alike it, right?
Mind.
Let's take it even mind, okay, not even the brain, the mind.
Yeah, the mind,
the essence of the being and all that, and you put it into like a pig, right? And say, let's just, like, hypothetically, you can do that, and it's not even a brain thing, it's a mind, whatever that constitutes. If I didn't know, like, how, like, in order to convey the image of made in the image of God, I would need to know the personhood of that being. Does that make sense?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm just...
So to know whether they're made in the image of God, I would need to interact with the personhood.
Well, no, we can also stipulate in the hypothetical that they're not, right? Like, I can give you a hypothetical and say, you know, in this hypothetical, we have these aliens and they're not made in the image of God, right?
Right.
So whether you would be able to understand they're made in the image of God, were that fact not supplied from the outside in the hypothetical, maybe not, but that's a separate question, because in this hypothetical, it's just stipulated they're not made in the image of God.
Yeah, to be consistent, I would say if I knew anything was not made in the image of God, based on my worldview, of course, this new hypothetical would have to be inserted into my holistic worldview, my account of all things.
Yep.
I would have to be consistent. However, if that renders a conclusion that sounds absurd, but it's not actually inconsistent or logically absurd, it just sounds absurd, right? To be fair, right?
Well, when we say, it depends what we mean by absurd, but you continue. I could say more about that. I'm not saying there's a logical contradiction, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. I'm either going to form a contradiction or come to a conclusion that you or listeners will be like, oh my gosh, he would kill a thing.
Right, something that people would not be on board with. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I would have to be consistent. If I knew it wasn't made in the image of God, then I have to be consistent, even if you made this new thing seemingly almost near identical to human.
Yeah, it has your kid's mind.
Yeah. However, that would be, I would apply that to even like a robot. I couldn't tell the difference in biology, right? And be like, because you I mean, I don't want to get into tangent of what you told me your idea of AI and rights.
Yeah, I do think AI should have rights once it's sentient, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, if that was transplanted directly, but it wasn't my daughter's mind, but it was identical to the ability, the faculties, and all of that, but it was in a metal frame, or even a cow, or some other being that wasn't in full form human. Not to say a disfigured human, like oh, that's a human who has a problem, because sometimes the direction goes that way. It's like, oh, disfigured, that means it's not a human, you can kill it. No, I don't agree with that.
Right.
So to be consistent, I would have to say, yeah, I would have to still value made in the image of God.
But Jimbob, I'm not asking if it's moral. I'm just asking if you'd have a preference for it. I understand.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. You went to preference.
Yeah, I understand morally it doesn't matter because it's not made in God's image. That I get. But would you? I
would only prefer it if it became, unless through my experience or through.
Well, I'm asking you right now to assess whether you prefer it. Yeah.
No, I'm saying the preference would be given by somewhat of its utility, I think, too. Like whether I would kill it or not. So if I just tell you that it has the same mind as your child, you're saying that's not enough for you to determine if you would kill it or not. You need to know more about like whether it would provide you utility. It's not enough to go, it has my kids. It's not enough to go, it has my kid. Yeah. I want to clarify, by same mind, not my daughter's mind.
No, yeah, it has it has the same mental properties, but then a different physical.
What utility? What utility would make it okay, bro?
Well, we're talking about preference, so we're not talking about what's okay.
No, you said it depends on the utility her murder might bring. So what utility would be worthwhile for you?
I don't know if it was, like maybe we found this being also had like, platinum for a
Okay,
lot of
and in the hypothetical, it doesn't
Everyone
have
plays
platinum fucking bones,
the
or
platinum being.
it
Yeah, the
doesn't
platinum.
shit
do
diamonds or
it. So
something.
you'd do it. You'd murder
No,
if there was some fucking platinum in there.
If we're allowed to construct hypotheticals, we can just keep going and just go, well,
Okay, so let's go with platinum. Let's go with platinum. So that's it. Just a fucking platinum baby.
People
Yeah.
are
I like
stealing
platinum
a lot
too,
of
homie. But not that much.
murders.
I like platinum, but not enough to murder my children or similar.
But Isaac, I want to ask you an honest question about this.
Sure.
I don't think it's ever been brought up, and I've watched a lot of your stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Is that once you get to,
And you still agree to the debate. Respect, honestly. I want to give you that, bro.
Fair enough. Yeah, thanks for coming to enemy territory, because it is
Yes,
2v1.
Smart guy. He's intimidating. I respect you for coming and talking to two vegans about your beliefs. Thank you for joining us, bro.
No, you're welcome. And I don't think, Isaac, you get these things go really in all these directions, and then you become bored because it gets all crazy. So I just knew I could, keep myself composed enough to go through it. But I do want to ask you an honest question about this.
Sure.
Is that once you get to, and this is less about my position, it's just a critique possibly about that dialogue tree or the argument,
Mm-hmm.
that once you get to the conclusion, if you don't produce an inconsistency and you're consistent, but it leads to some crazy thing where you're like, oh, you're going to eat, you're going to kill the thing with your daughter's mind in it and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or even if it was a better example, I'm sure you've gotten someone to just be like, oh, just that one thing, it has digits on their hands and you would kill it after. So this is what I seems to be the irony of it, is that once we get to that conclusion, wouldn't you have to name the trait that makes that absurd?
Next question,
NTT is between two things. It's like if you say some property holds for this thing and not for that thing. But I can tell you what I mean by absurd, because NTT is about symmetry breaking, right? You don't say like, show me why the mouse is green with NTT, or show me why this is absurd with NTT. NTT is, you have two things and you say X holds for A and X doesn't hold for B, and it's like, in virtue of what does X hold for the one but not the other?
Mm-hmm.
But sorry, I felt like I had more to say about what you just asked.
Well, do you know what I mean? What I asked? Do you understand what I asked?
Repeat it again, because it'll prompt me. I had more to say about it.
Okay, it was that once you reach.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, so I want to talk. Yeah, so I was going to say, but despite the fact that I think asking, can you explain the absurdity with NTT or something, I think that's like basically like a category error. I think that I can tell you what I mean by absurd, right? Like, when I say absurd there, I'm just talking about something that I have like a very strong sense of aversion to, and that I suspect a lot of others will feel a very strong sense of aversion to. And if we wanted a justification for them feeling that aversion, I don't know, I don't have an argument off the top of my head, but I think that, I think, well, first of all, are we operating in a context right now where we are like highly skeptical of each other's ability to like assess what other humans would make of situations? Because if we're in a context like that, then I don't know what we're gonna do. But let me finish. If we're allowed to make sense of like kind of like common sense sensory perceptions, if you're not gonna like precept me here or something, then yeah, I mean, I just point to like the kind of attitudes people have, and I'd say like, people seem very much to not like killing each other. They don't so when it comes to absurdity, all I'm talking about is it's something that I have a strong sense of aversion to, and usually I'm also saying I think other people will as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's honest and straightforward. It's just that in the event maybe another vegan would take the absurdity and try to argue, that's clearly immoral. Like if they got themselves trapped into then making a moral claim, not labeling it generally absurd sounding, but actually going, you would kill that weird new hybrid being. That's crazy. Like that's so, because ultimately isn't the argument geared mostly from a perspective that it's, I know this isn't actually your perspective, that it's objectively morally wrong.
No, The argument is meta-ethically independent. So just like we did in this conversation, remember, like initially we ran it and I realized you were answering in terms of what accounts for the moral difference, and then I flipped it over and just talked in terms of what accounts for the preference. So say you're talking, there's different meta-ethical views. Like if I'm talking to a realist, I would run NTT in terms of what's the moral difference. If I was talking to some kind of anti-realist, I'd be talking about what accounts for the difference in preference. So I'm not sure how many vegans are moral realists. It could be totally reasonable that you inferred that the argument assumes objectivism if tons of objectivist vegans are running it. But no, it's meta-ethically independent.
Gotcha. Because it might
sound like... Bob?
Go ahead.
When you're ready. No, when you're ready. If you have something else to say.
No, it's just more babbling on this.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so do you have a preference in not causing suffering and death?
Come on, dude.
What? Wait.
That's one of the ones that you're not supposed to sit and ponder on. It's like, do I prefer not to murder?
Oh, it's just loaded in destroying your...
I didn't see the loading. What was the loading?
The loading is your concept of
that,
what
honestly...
is... No, hold on.
Okay.
From the question, you have a definition of what suffering and all of that means, and what is justified and not justified. So it comes with all of your...
The justified.
Yeah, I don't think he mentioned justification, but do we have a difference in our suffering?
We can't even define suffering.
Well, wait. Okay, so the objection is fine if we actually don't have the same concepts, but I don't think we have different concepts of suffering. I think
no, you don't agree.
So if I were to just look up suffering in the dictionary, you think you would not agree with that? Because then we'd be back in the situation with...
we can use we can look at the definition, but the thing is...
yeah, so wait, but then he's just asking you, given that definition, right? Whatever we find when we look in the dictionary, what was your phrasing? Why do you not have a problem with it? Why do you support it?
Do you have a preference?
Do you have a preference against it, right?
Against causing suffering?
Yeah, where suffering is just defined like the way it's defined in the dictionary.
Yeah, to humans, to human beings.
Okay, so why don't you have...
We're going to start the whole debate.
I mean, well, wait, let me ask
another question.
Okay.
How important is it for you not to cause the suffering and death of other humans? How important? You know what I mean? Like, just don't fuck with me on my questioning. Just give me an answer.
How important? Very, or yeah, very.
Very. Like that. That's an answer. Like. Very, right? Very. Like, I mean, probably
the reason is because their reason is because by existing, I might be causing indirect suffering to other human beings, and even if it was shown to me, I might not, given the level of suffering that's inflicted or whatever, I might not change anything based on how the magnitude of suffering. So that's why it's like, what's suffering? What's the magnitude? What's the measure?
You know what suffering is? It's the definition. We know how to measure pain. We all experience it, and so do non-human beings. So you have a preference, not causing what are you shaking your head at?
Pain's not identical to suffering. I reject that.
I'm not saying pain is identical to suffering. Suffering is not accepting your pain. Pain is the physical sensation, and suffering is not accepting the physical sensation and adding more pain because you're like, fuck this, instead of just being, I'm in pain, but I'm okay with it.
Right.
Okay.
First moment of agreement.
So you have.
I'm going vegan.
Preference. I know you are. I'm just waiting for the moment when we all realize it together. Maybe it'll be this conversation. Maybe it'll be another one. But I know you're a fucking cool guy, bro. And I know you're just around the corner for you. Or at least that's my belief. I think you're smart enough.
Go ahead.
Okay, no, that's all good. So forget suffering. Do you have a preference against causing pain and death? Yes. Only to humans. Okay, so it's a very, very important thing to you when it comes to humans. Very, very important. And that's great. I think that is smart. That's wise. I agree. I have lots of reasons why. Because it's just a golden rule, man, in action. Do unto others. You know, that's some Christian shit. So why, when it comes to others who have wings or fur, this very, very important thing that you usually live by, don't cause pain, don't cause suffering. Why is it totally out the window? And when you answer this, do you think that reason is a good enough reason to stop caring about causing pain and death?
Yeah, because I mean, it's back to my first answer. I mean, we're
So
made
then,
humans.
then we fundamentally disagree. We fundamentally disagree. I don't think it's a good answer to cause pain and death. I think it's just an answer. Yeah, it's an answer. It's image of God. But is it a good answer to cause pain and death? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And
Yeah,
I
no,
hope you
it's-
agree.
Yeah, it's all just, you know, that's all just preference, and it's like, you know, I can.
It is. Your preference is fucked up.
We
I
can
do. And I hope
reduce-
you change your preference.
we
I
can
hope you change your
reduce-
preference.
We can reduce torment. I even stated that you can actually torture animals and it be an act against yourself. I mean, it could be a spiritual
Oh, it is.
depravity, right?
It is, my man.
But I
like,
don't think killing animals and eating them is the equal to that.
Okay, and usually you think causing pain and death is very wrong, and then just as soon as the being has feathers, you're like, not very wrong. Okay, even though they have almost identical life experience.
Even if it's got your child's brain, or sorry, your child's mind.
Well, yeah, but
to
that's
me,
like, you could have invented any creature.
We don't
Pardon
need
me?
a child's brain in this
But
conversation.
see that when people do that, that actually makes me think that they kind of agree with what I'm saying. When someone tries to blow it off and go, "Oh, it's a made-up creature," or something like that, right? It's like, well, that's not relevant. My point wasn't about it being real or not. It's just like, you know, the fact that you
was whether it's made in the image of God or not. So it's like, from that perspective, you know, the creature, any creature you invent, that's very, 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 very similar. But once you state it's, and you know it's not made in the image of God, because it's,
and it's okay to cause pain and death, and all of a sudden it's okay to cause pain and death.
Well, no, but we established
causing pain and death now.
No, but we established it's not just about being made in the image of God, right? Because
causing pain and death.
Wait, sorry, no, wait, I forget now. Did you
whether they're made in the image of God or not? It's still fucking not nice to cause that to somebody. Who cares if they're made in the image of God? If they're not, okay, sorry, you're not made in the image of God. Being made in the image of God's fucking awesome. I'm stoked to be a human. But that doesn't mean I'm going to cause you pain and death, because fuck that. That's a bad thing to feel. And therefore, it's a bad thing to inflict on someone else. That's the golden rule.
Isaac?
Jimbob.
Yeah, do you want to say something?
What? No, you were saying something.
Yeah, but then I realized
what I just said.
I realized James was on a path, so I was like, I'm gonna listen and see.
I'm on a journey, and so are you, dude. Isaac agrees with what I said, so we don't need to hear from Isaac. Jimbob, where do you disagree?
I mean, we know where we disagree. I mean, you have.
No, we don't.
Can I try to articulate? Sorry, you do it. Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead, Isaac.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make sense.
Him as a listener to summarize it.
It doesn't make sense. This is my summary. This is my summary.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense to be okay with causing pain and death, which is something that you are usually horribly against, just because the being, in your opinion, I don't even agree with you, in your opinion, isn't made in the image of God. I think they are made in the image of God. They're animals just like us. They have their own experience just like us. The birds just flew by me, and they were beautiful, and they feel rich emotions just like us. They're made in the image of God. But even if they weren't, I don't think it's okay to cause pain and death on anybody, made in the image of God or not. You disagree, and it causes a lot of fucking pain and death. And I wish you just changed your mind and stopped causing all that pain and death, because it's horrible. Horrible for them. Horrible. That's all. That's my summary.
Yeah, and if I went for a summary, I mean, I think what I would say is basically just that you give the answer. When I say what accounts for the preference difference, when we're saying, you know, when you say you prefer killing the animal, prefer not killing the human, you say it's being made in God's image. And then I give a being that has a mind identical to your child, but is not made in God's image. And you say you would like kill that thing. Like, I mean, I don't, when someone says stuff like that, I start losing hope that I'll persuade them, but I do, well, I mean, like, yeah, come on. But I do think though that a lot of people watching, I think once someone has said something like that, they're like, okay, well, wait, let me finish. If I can't sign off, this is like the viewer, right? If I can't sign off on the thought of you know, just murdering beings with minds identical to my friends and family if they weren't made in God's image, right? Like, would I be fine just torturing them? No, right? Then they're just going to not be able to sign off on your position. I think that'll be quite a lot of people.
That's fine, because I wouldn't try to persuade someone with that from that perspective. I mean, my worldview it's way wider, and it covers more topics that all unite together. Taking it, if someone isn't going to be,
and it's more violent.
If someone is going to look at that one scenario to make the decision whether they're going to accept my worldview, I agree with you. That's definitely not going to be a thing. But if they're going to determine a worldview based on that scenario, then I think they've got a lot more work to do anyway. So it's like kind of like it doesn't, in my view, is really not the make or break, you know?
Well, I mean, who's to know exactly what their view is? Maybe they have a ton of work to go into building a worldview or whatever. But the point is just like, if our goal here is something like show that the Carnist position is not acceptable to most of the audience, I think once you're talking about murdering minds identical to your children, I think we're there.
Yeah, but that's not what reality is, though.
I don't see the relevance.
Well,
people are
actually,
not gonna.
I'd say it is, bro, because these animals
don't have
feel
my
pain.
daughter's mind.
I
No,
also.
that's not my daughter's mind.
Hang on, no, I gotta say this, guys. I gotta say this. These animals, don't sell them short. Watch some Planet Earth documentaries. They lead rich, emotional lives. Trust me, I have 3 cats. They're always playing and biting each other and creating a hierarchy and getting hungry and breathing and being cute and doing funny things and being cheeky like children, because they have a similar mind. They just can't express themselves the same. They have a different voice box. They have certain differences and different skills. I was watching the monkeys here today. The way they were climbing, I was like, you guys are parkour legends. If you guys were versing humans in parkour, humans would lose for sure. So, and they want to play and jump around and eat some fruit, just like your children, just like me. We're so similar. That's the point I'm trying to make, dude. That's the point I'm trying to make. Your differences are like not in the image of God. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. They're so similar that I still don't want to cause them pain and death.
We're not identical, though. So if
I know we're not identical. You're not identical to me, and I'm not identical to a cat, but they're close enough that I know I don't want to cause them pain and death.
Isaac, if I transplanted the same mind of your sibling, if you have one or not, into what kind of leaves do you eat in your little salads? Kale.
I wouldn't eat the leaf.
Conscientious
Yeah.
kale.
Now, just to be clear, if I'm
hold on, I have one more part of it. You knew that the mind was there, but you couldn't interact with it directly. Someone just told you, and kale.
I wouldn't eat it.
Was it a little bundle? Yeah, it's a little like
a bushel. I don't fucking know.
So
Getting wild.
Do you make the choice in not eating that?
Well,
yes.
Setting aside the empirical concern that most of the people I know would be miserable if confined to a bowl of salad. Setting aside the question of like, would I be putting them out of their misery because they just don't want to sit amongst the kale anymore? No, I mean, I wouldn't kill them, right? Like, look, it sounds crazy because you go, it's a leaf, and then we go, what's a leaf normally? A leaf is a non-sentient thing. But if you go, that leaf, however exactly it works, that thing has the mind of like your mother in it. It's like, dude, I'm not fucking eating. If me eating, it's very it's abstract to think about. But I say if me biting into that leaf is creating a conscious experience that's no different than my mom being like ripped in half, like of course I'm not gonna eat the leaf. Like that would be fucking insane.
And so when mushrooms and other things start to
don't do it. Don't do plant sentience. Are you about to do plant sentience?
No, not full sentience. No. Just relatively equal response to their system. Like
they're not sentient though.
Some experience.
If there's no one home, there's no one home.
I'm not convinced of plant sentience. Yeah.
Okay.
No, so you may destroy all the mushrooms you want.
Yeah, it's a hypothetical because
I would recommend a lot of mushrooms for you, Jimbob.
I would.
Anytime, homie. Come round.
Wait, what's in a mushroom?
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin.
No, I've done that. What's in a regular mushroom that's healthy?
Oh man,
vitamin.
I don't know nutrition.
Vitamins, iron, a bunch of stuff. What does it matter?
No, I'm just wondering.
Well, that's what
Oh,
determines if
yeah,
it's right or wrong
good.
to kill a mushroom if it has your kid's mind in it. You gotta look at the nutritional content, right?
Also,
The right
because it
mushroom
might
might
lay
have
out.
it. Oh my god,
Anyway,
homies. Yeah, I mean, said we were going to talk for an hour and a half, and we've talked for 2.5 hours. So
this is true.
we can only go so far. I'm happy to keep talking if you guys are, but I just want to throw that out there that we talked about a lot. And I don't know if we should keep going. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I like talking to both you guys also. I actually will need to go.
me too.
Yeah,
Wait.
I should go pretty shortly. Well, I guess if he has to go now. Yeah, because I'm in school. I need to, as much as I would love to just stay and talk philosophy, but also we have been going for hours, so maybe we're gonna start going in circles if we go too long. We could each give a closing word, and maybe we give Jimbob the last word, like just kind of courtesy. We resist the urge to cut in the second he starts talking. But yeah, okay. So because then just out of courtesy to him being kind of the guest and the lone defender of his position here. Yeah, so I mean, you know my summary. Like I think that we ran a little of NTT on the position, and if the symmetry breaker is being made in God's image and Jimbob ends up saying it's fine to slaughter beings with minds identical to his children, I think people will look at that position and reject it. I think that's pretty much like a good outcome for a vegan in this debate. And other than that, I like talking to you guys. So that's all I really have to say about it.
Cool, man. I like what you said.
Well, why don't you give yours too? And
yeah, I'll just say a little something now. I really enjoyed talking to you both as well. Aside from what we've been talking about, you're peaceful, nice guys, and I like talking to you guys. I got a lot of respect for both of you. Isaac, thank you for joining us, because I couldn't have done, me and Jimbob were going to have a chat once, and I came to you for advice on how to speak with Jimbob, because he's got a whole nother language and has different beliefs. That was a few months ago now. So I'm really grateful that you're able to come and join us so that this conversation could flow better and we could all understand each other's minds better.
anytime.
And belief. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot, bro. And I appreciate all the work you do, as you know.
Thank you.
I love it. I'm a huge fan, bro. Huge fan. Yes, you're excellent. Jimbob.
No, just
thank you, man.
Oh, sorry. Go.
No, I want to say something.
I was like,
thought you get a chance to talk. Yeah, it's not happening.
No, it's nice stuff.
Yeah, thanks.
Jimbob, I just want to say, homie, I appreciate you coming on and joining us. I would have felt quite daunted if I was in your position. So you're a brave man, or at least I would have needed some bravery to come and do this. And I think that you're a smart guy, and I think that you're a kind guy. And so I really hope that our conversation does lead to you being even more kind and more peaceful, because that opportunity exists for you. I don't really know how I can be more kind and peaceful. I mean, I could probably be a little less rude to people sometimes and stuff, and I'll work on it. But I'm at least not, causing serious pain and death on anybody. And I hope that you will also see that as a very important choice to make for yourself, so that you also don't cause the pain and death of innocent beings, regardless of how valuable you may see them as. I still think you would be a better person to not cause that pain and death. That's just my opinion. So yeah, man, I look forward to talking more with you, perhaps, and maybe we can all do this again. Who knows if some of us will change our beliefs in the future or not. Some new things will come up. I'd be totally open to that. And that's it, man. Just thanks again.
Yeah, no, thank you both. It's good. I mean, whatever we determine productive, in this case, in this realm, productive is being able to get through a 2-hour conversation without just, Isaac, just it going into complete chaos and shutting everything down. So that in itself is a win. And also thanks, Isaac, for not turning into C3PO and just turning everything we say into just math, like, the structural stuff, because you're not dealing with people well-versed in prop logic and all the stuff that you're doing. So actually getting out of that realm, this is separate, you getting further into just normal conversations with normal non-philosophical logic nerds might be pretty useful in the future, because you guys can when you're battling your own kind in that world, it's just going to go into like, you know where it goes. But this is a case where a couple of laymen in that world, or just get to discuss their worldview, and you actually just kind of listen and summarize. So I think that's really useful, actually. And other than that, yeah, I mean, I would have another conversation about any given topic. I think actually it's helpful for any one of us with a worldview to be constantly challenged to build and find all the weaknesses in our own. So ironically, we're both strengthening each of our positions, you know, and so
not necessarily.
we'll never convert each other, because we're just going to get better. That's it. That's
at some point, maybe one of us. I'm sorry.
You have to give him the last word. Yeah, you got it out of respect. Yeah, we gotta just to courtesy to the lone carnist here.
And to possibly help you guys, I was thinking of starting a company that at least started presenting meat products in vegetable forms. And so like it would be like broccoli made out of meat, so to get people more used to eating vegetables and to get them I'm just playing.
No.
I 100% reject that idea, but thanks anyway. Keep them coming.
All right.
That's really all I got, you guys.
Okay, well, it's good talking to you guys. And Jim, if you want a recording, do you want me to send you a recording? Well, if you do, just let me know on Insta. I have it. I can send you one if you want.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'd like to potentially talk to you guys about religion and God and stuff some other time.
Well, then it'll be 2-on-1 with me as the defender that time.
Yeah, you're going down. Well, we all have different beliefs there, actually, because I'm not a religious person, but I do have a belief in God. You're a religious person that believes in God, Jimbob, and Isaac. You are a agnostic?
It depends on the God, but yeah, agnostic, atheist for some.
Okay, yeah. Oh, interesting. I'd be curious to hear more about that. So yeah, maybe we can do that sometime.
Totally.
Cool.
All right.
Excellent.
Yeah, have a good night.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Peace out.